Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the RantCastPodcast, episode 94. Go ahead and bring myself on here. Hope everybody's having a great evening and or morning wherever you are in your neck of the woods. I am TheStrangeBus, also known as Josh, and you can find me at twitch.tv/TheStrangeBus. That's twitch.tv/TheStrangeBus. I'm joined here by your other host, Kurgan, also known as HeroQuest Fans, and you can find him at twitch.tv/HeroQuest Fans. That's twitch.tv/HeroQuest Fans. Also on YouTube, that's XSC3, home of HeroQuest Fans. Kurgan, you're on. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Cast.
Never fails. Never fails.
How's it going?
Never fails. Never fails. Yeah, I'm doing all right. How are you? The important question actually is, how's our audience today? Because we actually have, I thought I had a more set up show as I was prepping this evening and couldn't find my glasses. All my hardware stopped working because of an update, which I guess on Linux that's pretty frequent too. And so as I'm calling him, trying to get everything set up, and I had plenty of time, I spent 30 minutes trying to recover and just jumble everything back up. So I got my original backdrop put back in, but I've still got to put integration and stuff for when I host. There's other things I've got to add for the RantCastPodcast when I host as well, but yeah, I don't even have the episode number on there. So
94.
Yeah.
94.
So we're gonna do that live. So just letting you guys know.
Let's do it live.
But yeah, it's always a mess when I first come back on or I first start streaming. I have been streaming the last couple days. I've been trying to find, is it modicums is the proper word? Modicums of time. Or maybe increments of time to get myself back in order amidst the chaos and fun and joy of a big family. So I've been trying to do that, and it's usually late at night, but I can stream for a little while. Sometimes I'll get brave and I'll stream into the morning again. I don't know how long it's going to last. I'm not even taking my channel seriously. If you go to my About channel, it says shame on Twitch, pretty much. All my links are gone. But
wow.
Yeah, so but anyway, yeah, that's kind of how my stuff is going. So I am streaming again for all of you who care.
Nice.
Just not as much, and there's not really going to be a regular schedule right now until I can figure one out. So it's pretty much all I can give you. It's not laziness. I have the fate of 3 other people in my hands, 4 other people. But if you want to catch me playing Dishonored, probably tonight, twitch.tv/StrangeBus. I think I'm finishing it tonight. So.
Nice.
Yeah. How are you doing today, Kurgan? How are things?
I'm doing a little better. I've just got through my cold and getting over some other stuff, and I had this splitting headache, but to be honest, I did have a very full weekend, doing a lot of stuff. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I think I'm just kind of still recovering.
Oh yeah, that Lord of the Rings marathon, huh?
Oh yeah.
How'd that go?
It was awesome. You want to hear a little bit about it?
Sure.
Shall I tell him, folks? Okay, so as you may know, I'm a big fan of the Lord of the Rings in all its forms. But yeah, seeing the Peter Jackson films in theaters again was awesome. And these were the extended editions. I'd never sat down to see the extended editions in theaters. So from what I understand, the history of it was the original footage that they threw on the DVDs was low quality. so they had to like redo all the CGI when they did the Blu-rays. But then the color timing was all messed up on the Blu-rays, so everything like had like a really greenish tint to it, which is why whenever I watch it on my TV, I like adjust the colors just to get it right. But anyway, they did a full remaster, and I had heard a lot of like negative things about the remaster because I guess the 4Ks that came out a few years ago for the Lord of the Rings trilogy were kind of messed up. Like whenever you remember how they have all those flashback scenes, you know, talking about the ring and everything, the history,
Right.
and it's like in the Hobbit movies, it goes to like sepia, like there's no color,
Yeah.
and they had copied that same style for the Lord of the Rings to try to make it match, and people hated it. So I was like, oh, I was prepared for that because that opening scene is just completely ruined if you can't see like the gold and the other colors. But it looked pretty balanced. It looked like they had not desaturated everything in those scenes. So I was like, okay, that's good. And then the other things that stand out to me. So there's a scene, and ever since I saw it in the theater, like in Return of the King, when Legolas like jumps on top of the elephant and he's like riding it, and you're like, oh, it's Luke, you know, on top of the AT-AT, you know, in Empire Strikes Back. That whole scene, it's just like he looks like a bendy like toy, and like there's no detail. It looks really cartoony and really fake. I mean, you knew it was fake, but it was just like it always looked bad. Um, it it still looked fake, but it seemed like they had done something to it to kind of like I don't know, retexturize it or I don't know if they used a new model or something, but it looked better. And I was like, wow, they actually did that. And it wasn't, you know, we complained about the special edition Star Wars trilogy and how like the changes are jarring. This was like blending it better. I was like, okay, cool. There was only a couple of shots throughout the movies where I was like, that doesn't look good. Like there's a shot that lingers in the Two Towers, like when they get to the gate of Mordor, and it's like you see the trolls like pulling something across the wall, and it looks like they just took a model and then they threw some like really low quality, like low polygon models, like from Battle for Middle Earth or something, to put them on there. Because if you look at the trolls' feet, like they're like floating on top of the wall or something. It was just like, oh man, it looks bad. But then there's another shot I remember in Return of the King where when the Nazgul are like flying, they're like, you know, creatures like over the walls of Minas Tirith, and you see it like kind of go to the side, and it looks just like a video game. Like it's like the textures are suddenly like super smooth and super blurry. Well, they fixed that. Like I was waiting for that shot, and it never happened. So it was like, okay, either they cut it or they like digitized it so that it looked perfect. So I was like, okay, that's really good. I like that. The only thing that bothered me about seeing Lord of the Rings in the theaters is I was reminded how there was this trend in the 2000s of like action movies, you know, the shaky camera, like everything's really tight and like blurred and just a mass of like limbs, and you can't see what's happening like in a fight scene. It's just a complete mess. And I hate that because you can't like pick up the fight. I mean, it's not like the Phantom Menace where it's like every hit is like, you know, boom, it's like choreographed like that. But I don't remember having that feeling watching the Lord of the Rings movies. I'll have to look at my Blu-rays again to see if I get that same feeling. Maybe it's just the difference between being on a small screen versus on a large screen. Because I was probably like, this wasn't stadium seating, so I'm like halfway. I'm like right in the middle of the theater, and I found myself like pushing my head back. Like I had my chair back all the way. It's like a recliner, and I was still pushing my head back during the fight scenes because I'm like trying to see what's happening. Because it's just like just like it's right in my face, you know. So I don't know if they might have reframed those shots like to really tighten up on them, and that might be why it looks that way, or maybe it's just I just don't remember what it was like. But I feel like every movie they did that. Like there'd be a bunch of fight scenes where it's just a blurry mess, you know, quick cutting, you can't see what's happening. But then they have like one fight where it actually was well choreographed. So like when they're fighting the cave troll, it's just a bunch of nonsense. But then when Aragorn is like fighting like the orc captain, it's like perfect. So I kind of thought at the time like they did that on purpose because like they're trying to maintain a PG-13 rating, so they have just tons of violence in the movie, but they tone down a lot of it by having it just be a big convoluted mess. You can't see what's happening. So I don't know if other people have that perception, but even if
Right.
you set that aside, it was just yeah, I got sucked into the movie. I mean, I the Lord of the Rings movies are the kind of movies where you don't feel like, oh man, I've been watching this for 2 hours. I've been watching this for 3 hours. I've been watching this for 3.5. I've been watching this for 4. I've been watching this. You know, you're not doing that. You're just like, oh man, this next scene, and then you're like, that's it. It's over. So like it keeps you going. But really though, Return of the King Extended really could have been 2 movies. And I'm just thinking about
Yeah.
if they had done that, if it had been like Return of the King Part 1 and Part 2, like how much money they would have lost because half the people wouldn't have come to the second one. But still, I mean, there were people that left like with like 45 minutes to go. Like they were just like, nope, can't do it.
You got to
I'm
be in there
like,
for the long haul, you know?
yeah. I mean, I prepared. I was like, okay, 2 or 3 hours before the movie starts, I'm not drinking any liquids. And thankfully, it's
Oh,
not like the middle
you're
of
like
summer.
dedicated. See,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if I can
I'm an
like
old man.
get that crazy about it, but like
I don't have the same bladder I did
I
when I
do
was 20.
reduce because like at the end of the day, you gotta go, man. Just go and then come back. But
Yeah, don't kill
I mean,
yourself. Yeah.
yeah. But if you're gonna like, I guess if you want to watch the whole thing, I mean, I don't know. I've always just it's never bothered me too much. I don't miss too much of the movie. I've never had like one of those like instances where we
I gotta buy another ticket.
yeah like you miss a
Get more
crucial part of the
popcorn.
film because usually you
Yeah.
know like movies used to be designed to where like there's a crucial part coming. You know, if you took a bathroom break, you miss something. So
Like why is Luke all freaked out? I don't get it. Like he survived the fight. He's fine.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely I think a lot of these theaters that are doing the Lord of the Rings marathons, I mean they're doing one movie a night and they're doing it again next weekend. So I would say if you didn't have a chance, go check it out. I mean, if you're just going to see one of them, I mean, it's hard to say. Fellowship is a easy one, 3.5 hours. Two Towers is 4 hours. It rhymed. But I don't know. I kind of like Two Towers a lot. Like, I really do. At the same time, I mean, Return of the King is the one that won the awards. It's the longest one. But really, I don't think Return of the King is the best one. I mean, there's parts of it that are really awesome. But just as a standalone film, like, you could probably do okay just watching Fellowship in theaters. So if you're looking
Right.
for, like, the shortest one. But keep in mind, these are the extended editions, so these are for the super fans. I mean, a lot of those extra scenes that have been added are not like action. They're just more character development, more dialogue, more jokes, just to kind of live in the universe a little longer. Although to be fair, and I was talking to my brother about this, like when you think about the violence, like the little extra shots they add in, like there's all these shots of like orcs getting their heads cut off and like blood and stuff that wasn't in the theatrical version. And I kind of wonder, like, do they still get away with it being PG-13? Like, they just push it a little bit more with that? Because we think about it, the violence is pretty toned down for most of the movies, except for Return of the King when he's, you know, let's say there's a finger bitten off and there's blood everywhere. It's probably the worst one. So
I
if you're
don't
taking your
remember
kids
a
there,
whole lot. Like I don't remember details because it's been a long time since I've watched all those movies.
yeah. I mean, it's a 12-hour investment.
Yeah.
I think if you watch the theatrical cuts, which Peter Jackson for the longest time said, I mean, the theatrical cuts are fine. That was the best one, but the extended were for the super fans. But it's like, I think it's 10 hours for the theatricals, but
So,
yeah, 12 for the.
In a brief summary, what was added in the extended editions? I've like forgotten.
Oh, lots of stuff. So
More walking.
Yeah, here's the second movie. Get ready. More walking. So it's a mostly just filler. So like when Aragorn's fighting the orcs, there's more shots of him killing orcs. But there's different scenes. So like when Frodo gets stabbed with the Morgul blade, like they go, "Oh look, it's the trolls. It's Uncle Bilbo's trolls," and you see the statues. So it's just a little shot like that. There's a scene where Pippin and Merry, like, they find some of Treebeard's like magic water that they give to the Ents, and
Oh,
so like
Treebeard.
Pippin's drinking it, he gets taller. Yeah, and so they like fight over the water, and then they fall into the trees and they get attacked by the trees. So it's like a little bit extra, just shenanigans. Probably the biggest scene that they add in Return of the King is you never find out what happens to Saruman. It's like, oh, he gets surrounded, he must have surrendered. You never see him again. But there's a whole scene where it's like he's on top of the Orthanc, and they're like trying to interrogate him, and Wormtongue is there with him, and it's like, you don't have to follow him anymore, and it's like basically his death scene was completely cut out of the theatrical version. So
I thought him
and
falling
Christopher Lee
was his death scene. Or
yeah, but I mean that's not in the theatrical version. So if you've ever seen that, then you've seen the extended version.
oh, he just doesn't show off, or he just doesn't show up after that then?
Yeah, and it's the Two Towers ends with them basically they flooded the area. Isengard is fallen, and he's just in the tower like freaked out, and then that's the last you see of him. It's like, oh yeah, we defeated Saruman.
Oh yeah,
Good,
see
good
stuff
time.
I don't remember. It
Yeah.
got me.
But Christopher Lee was really pissed about that, because that was the famous scene where like they interview him, and like he and Peter Jackson had this argument like on the set, and he's like, you know, what sound he's supposed to make when he gets stabbed in the back, and he's like, you know, you don't know what it sounds like when a man is stabbed in the back. I do. He's like, whoa. You know,
now.
so it's like first time in the war, like he's talking about it. So it's like, okay, so but then they did that whole scene, they did the whole thing, and then they cut it out, and he was like, what? So for a while they like had a feud, and so like he was telling everybody, you know, watch the DVD, that's the real version. When they showed these movies, like they give you one last chance to use the bathroom before the movie started, because Peter Jackson would get on there and he just the most monotone, rambling, nerdy guy you could imagine, like introducing a film.
Yeah.
But it's like he gave you lots of. It's like, okay, he's gonna be talking for like 10 more minutes. I'm going to the bathroom, I'm coming back. But yeah, he talked about how like for the longest time he and Christopher Lee were just like, no, like he was pissed. But they finally buried the hatchet, and like he went over to his house and like drank a bottle of whiskey with him or something.
Like actually buried the hatchet, and not like Hollywood buried the hatchet.
Oh, like there was no, they just hanging out like old
like
guys.
Pretended to be friends.
Yeah, pretend to be friends and stab in the back, for real.
Yeah.
It's like, now you know what it's like to be stabbed in the back. Old friend. But yeah, Christopher Lee was great. So good. His performance was just amazing. Yeah, there was a couple of shots where, so the way the Lord of the Rings is shot, the techniques are so interesting.
Hey, Joe.
Because okay, you get this. Joe, welcome. RantCast. Yeah, the Lord of the Rings, you get so many shots where you get like the overblown lights, like people are just whited out from the lights, and then you get like the blurry filters, and you've got the quick cutting and the shaky cam. So it's really a specimen from that era of filmmaking. But I suppose now it's like it makes it stand out even more to people who like didn't watch it. Like a lot of the people in the theater, one thing I'll say about the experience, like I was expecting like people were gonna laugh at all the meme scenes. You know what I'm talking about? There's like 50 different clips of Lord of the Rings that you could pull out.
You mean potatoes?
You know? Potatoes, yeah. It's like, you know, where was Gondor when the Westfall fell? And they're taking the hobbits to Isengard, and you know all that stuff. It's like all those memes, but it's like nobody laughed at them. I mean, I was laughing, but nobody else was. So it's just like, okay. And then I was expecting people would be in costume. Nobody was in costume until Return of the King. There were these two women that were dressed up. I couldn't tell if they were dressed as hobbits. I should check their feet, but sorry, it sounded bad. But yeah, it's like they had some costumes on. It's like, okay, well, good for you, but nobody else.
You went robotic just as you said that too. You got censored.
What?
You went robotic just as you said that. You got censored.
Oh man, no. If they were dressed as hobbits, I would expect them to be barefoot, right? But then I sounded like a creepy guy saying that, so I retract. So anyway, but anyway, yeah, they had some costumes on. It's like, oh, good for you. Oh, good for you. And they did have themed food. I was expecting a lot more, but they had the Shire Burger. So it was this big. This was at Flicks, so it's a chain. Some part of the country. It was this big, like, juicy burger. That was one tasty burger. And of course, I had something to wash down my burger, but it had like Gouda cheese all over it, and like greens and stuff. It's just good times. And then I had a tater tots. So I did have my potatoes. Yep. And then I had a strawberry
Did you
shake.
get your cup?
So that was my liquid. So it's like, okay, it's going to go down slow. No, that was the thing. They did not give away any like souvenir drinkware. They didn't have any trivia games or anything because Flix does that a lot. I was like, oh man, but it's like the movie's so long, they were just like, no. They did play some stuff ahead of time though. At our theater, they played the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins with Leonard Nimoy singing it. It's the cheesiest thing you've ever heard. Music video, and then they did the trailer for the animated Lord of the Rings in really low quality. They had some part of some documentary basically saying like how hippies loved Lord of the Rings, and the Tolkien Society is like, you guys are weird. Like that's not what he intended. It's not an LSD trip, but people did it anyway. So I was kind of like, okay, that's kind of interesting. So, because there were like different rock songs that used like imagery from Lord of the Rings, from like the era. I think it was like, yeah, it was in the 70s, early 70s. So different art was inspired by stuff from The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. It's interesting. But yeah, it was a good experience. And just doing it one night after another, I think is much better than what they tried to do the previous year, where they did all of them in one day, which is too much, I think. There once was a hobbit named Bilbo. That's right, Malweb. Yeah, check it out. It's on YouTube. It's The Ballad of Bilbo Baggins, Leonard Nimoy. Yeah,
Tom Bombadil.
It's weird.
Uh,
Tom Bombadil. Yeah, Tom Bombadil was not added, but yeah, a lot of people will tell you if you're going to see the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies, see the extended editions. Some people say it messes with the pacing, but the fact is when I watch them, usually I'll just watch, like the movies are divided up, like every movie is like 2 discs on the sets when you buy them. So it's like disc 1 is night 1, disc 2 is night 2. So if you split it up into 6 nights, it works perfectly. I mean, it's just enough action and story not to overwhelm you and not make you feel super tired.
When you're done, I actually have some confirmation for you. This just in. Well, it's not really just in, but because we can't really trust anything, we like to double verify. And I didn't have a chance to double verify while I was busy troubleshooting. We've had, but you go ahead, finish up. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. So what I was saying is, Lord of the Rings is pretty great, and I like it a lot.
I would like to find a time to sit down and watch those movies again. I don't know about the extended cuts. I remember the first 2 times I watched those movies, I was pretty young. I was probably my pre-teens and early teens, and it was a very emotional experience because I do have a bad experience with that trilogy. But I don't let it like dominate me. But like before I got to the movies, I had a very cruel. Not really. I wouldn't say very cruel, but he wasn't a very nice guy. My and I don't want to get into too much trauma, but I had a very cruel step parent who was a very big nerd, and his version of education was here, sit and read this 1,200 page Lord of the Rings book. And I can't remember what I was in trouble for, but I remember reading that every day after school. So I kind of got into it, but
that was your punishment to read it?
Yeah, well, I was grounded, and I was like begging for something but like, I mean, it sounds like
hell yeah,
it sounds very easy, right? It sounds very easy, but I'm making it very bare bones because I don't want it to make it about that. It's just it wasn't a fun experience at first, and I had to make it a fun experience. So I've been left a bad taste in my mouth, and every time I watch those movies, like he was a super fan, like knew the actors and all that down to like their isms, and I really enjoyed those movies. It was an emotional experience because you get to, was it the 2 Towers? It was the fight with what's her face. It was Rohirrim. Was it Rohin? See, I'm really bad. No,
Just describe what happens, and I'll tell you what.
it wasn't the. See, I'm gonna sound really bad. This is where I suck. I don't. My wife could
Just
tell
the Witch
you.
King fight.
No, it's that scene where she like stabs the guy and is like,
Oh, that's
I
Return of the
am no
King.
man. Okay, yeah. So Return of the King was
Eowyn
pretty.
fighting the Witch King.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see, and I remember stuff like that, like some big parts, or because I joke, I say they're walking movies, but the big part about that movie was, you kind of learn over a period of time that ring is hard to carry, and the chemistry between, and all jokes aside, the chemistry between Frodo and Sam in that movie was pretty well done. So
well
yes,
done, yeah.
share the load. Yes.
Share the load.
Yes. Like I said, the memes are very cringy now, but like when he had to fight, like, I remember the fights after Shelob,
that was
the
like
emotional,
Samwise the Brave. You talk about that.
yeah, the emotional toll that he took afterwards, because like Frodo was getting kind of like evil, you know.
Yeah.
And and like I kept thinking to myself, like, I would have just kicked that motherfucker off the ledge, like, because like that's the thing, is like he, like, you know, you would do anything for somebody because you've known them all your life, you travel with them, and even at their darkest point, you don't lose your faith, you don't lose your will, and yeah, like I said, there were some parts about that movie that like threw me off, but like I'm gonna say I had my baby moments, but yeah, I did enjoy those movies,
Yeah,
and it would be nice
I'm
to
not
revisit
gonna lie,
them again.
I teared up a couple of times.
But yeah, so like I said,
Yeah.
it has its good moments. The death of if you haven't seen these movies already, then I'm sorry, you're at fault. Pause it. The death of Boromir was pretty sad.
Yeah, yeah, I cried during Boromir's death.
But you know,
Yep.
because you kind of hated the guy for a little bit, and then, you know, he didn't need to die.
He redeemed himself. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but somebody's talking about Batman. First Batman with Michael Keaton was on my first experience with people in costume. See, and that's another thing, Kurgan. I am very surprised that I'm very surprised that nobody did show up in costume at all.
Yeah. Like I said, only 2 people.
It's
I mean,
like it's Flick's Brewhouse.
I'm sure there were other premieres in other cities. Yeah. Yeah.
cry.
I mean, I went to Empire Strikes Back dressed as Boba Fett.
I cry in films if Sean Bean doesn't die. It feels just wrong. I mean, yeah, we.
He doesn't
if you
die in
think
all
about
of his films, but he does die in a certain number, and he has. great
Sometimes he
scenes.
takes a little
So,
too
yeah.
long, you know. Like what was it, Goldeneye?
It's like,
Mm.
hey, I survived the film. Like, oh no. Like during the credits, he walks back. Oh no, I survived.
Was it Oh man. Yeah, I wish I had my mental fortitude today. I gotta get more coffee. But the big thing about that was, I would like to revisit those movies again. I wish I could have came with you. I really do.
Oh man.
But
Well, next weekend, if you're not doing anything, or just call me up and I'll bring them over.
probably we'll be
We have a
doing
few
something.
laughs.
But I will try. I'll try to fit in, at least if I can fit in one. I know I could have sworn my wife has those movies, but I mean you can find them anywhere pretty much.
Yeah.
So we today at the RantCast podcast, because we are so gloriously prepared all the time.
Always.
We always have our topics in line. We never have any issues starting the stream. Even though we have, well, at least I have pretty good hardware here. We're always really on it.
We're all fine now here.
Yeah.
How are you?
This is just the one-off where a lot of our topics were up in the air because our prep time was taken solving all of these issues. So, I mean, and it's very true, Joe. Very true. Um, and that's why I'm trying to be more proactive about it, just in case. But I wanted to bring that up more for the fact that we are going to have a much more casual experience, like because you talk about Lord of the Rings, and I have nothing to really be angry about in Lord of the Rings, but I actually have a good Star Wars feeling to share. Recently, something that almost kind of brought me back to, probably like wanted me to kind of go back. Like lately, I've kind of felt dreaded, and I've wanted to keep going back, and it's been kind of hard. You know, even doing the Star Wars athons, it's nice. Do what?
Microphone issues.
Oh,
just occasionally it's like, yeah.
Uh-oh.
We're not perfect.
Are we having internet issues? I hope I'm not having internet issues.
Maybe it's just Discord. It's possible that on the stream it's fine. You guys would tell us if something went wrong.
I don't have any dropped frames, although I am streaming my upstream. I think it's that new feature that OBS put on where like enhances. Like it's like changing my bitrate. I'm at like 10,000 right now for my it's crazy.
Enhance. Zoom. Enhance.
Yeah, so I don't understand why I need to be that high. I'm probably hogging all the bandwidth. But anyway.
Okay,
I had a really good
for it.
Star
Nothing
Wars
bad
thing.
to say about Lord of the Rings.
I have had a really hard time trying to share that experience with my children because they haven't really been interested.
Oh.
So we had like a movie night last night, like a really calm movie night. We got the popcorn. No. They wanted to watch one of those, and I was like, no, we got to start somewhere. I tried to get them on A New Hope a couple times. They weren't interested. So I was like, hey, how about we start with Empire? We'll just start with Empire. It's got action. It's got suspense. It'll, I'll introduce you to the characters, even though, you should probably know them by now. So my 6-year-old, my 8-year-old, my 9-year-old sat down. And we watched Empire Strikes Back. And for the first time, I mean, there was some talking. There's a lot of asking questions. They sat down and watched Empire. And my daughter looked at me and said, my youngest daughter looked at me and said, that was awesome. And
you're like, I raised you right.
I know it's simple, right? It's probably expected. But yeah, it did make you feel good. Thanks, Malwa. Appreciate it. And she wanted to get started on other things, and I was like, well, next time you pick a movie, when we do movie night, you can pick Return of the Jedi. That's my favorite. And she was all down for it. So, and she wants to get into the comics and all that stuff. I was like, hey, let's slow down. Start at the movies. So, it was just nice because, like, you spend a lot of time with your kids trying to share things that you have interest in, and like I've thought forever that they weren't going to pick up Star Wars at all. And at one point in time, I was okay with that because it looked like it was going downhill. But it was kind of nice. It was kind of nice.
I get their hopes up.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had a moment.
And I hadn't watched Empire in a long time either. It's how busy I feel like life has been. So, and it was amazing. It was really weird watching that movie and being able to quote it, but getting the feelings, like that's a great movie feeling, like, and feeling the suspense and the anger of the characters and stuff, almost like it's been the first time. And I don't know if it was because it took a while. I haven't like watched it all the way down in like, I don't know, almost 10 years. And I don't know if it was that or what, but or maybe I'm just starved for entertainment because we release like 2-bit.
Yeah, too much slop.
Yeah, like big studios are releasing like really
half-baked.
crappy stuff. So,
Half-baked movies. Yeah.
and on top of that, like we do have good movies out there now, but they're like hidden gems, and they still aren't delivering the power that like studios did way back in the day. And yeah, it just hit me, and I was like, man, because I was doubting myself. I sat on the couch, I was doubting myself. I was like, maybe it is just me. I just, getting older, I just hate everything, you know. But like, it really does. It like hits different. So.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Um,
That's making me want to dig it out and watch it. I mean, I think there's something to what you're saying though about watching it all the way through, because yeah, you get busy person syndrome, you get grown up tired man can't sit through a movie, but then you also get like George Lucas. Like I sort of had this theory that he hasn't watched his own movies all the way through like in a long time, because it's like, oh no, I'm just gonna fixate on this one scene that needs to be retouched and forget the context. So like when the special editions would come out, I would watch those new scenes, see how different they were, but then I wouldn't just enjoy the whole film and just appreciate it.
The biggest question,
and Empire has a lot to like in it.
Somebody said, "Oh no, you said Empire scared me the first time I saw it." Speaking of which,
yeah, it did.
The beginning scenes freaked out my oldest daughter because they had to cut the wampa open, and she's like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, he's just gonna crawl inside until he gets warm." And she was like, "I'm gonna leave." I was like, no, sit down. It doesn't get gross anymore. So like for like half the movie, they asked me if there was like a gross part coming, or like when Luke was entering the cave.
Reassure him.
Yeah, when Luke entered the cave, she was like, "Is something gonna jump out?" And I was like, "No." So, they had to be explained a lot because like when I was young too, I did not completely understand what that cave scene meant. I think they explain it more in the book too. So.
Yeah. Yeah, they try to.
Did I not say Tauntaun?
Yeah, it was just very mysterious.
I'm really tired. I think so.
Wampa. Well.
I said cut the
Tauntaun
Wampa
didn't
open.
ever scare me.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah. Got him. Yeah. But yeah, I was scared of the Wampa, and I was scared of. I think because Luke gets really beat up, he gets his hand cut off, and I mean, I was just like, he's the hero. That's not supposed to happen. Like I was freaked out, And he falls off, and you're like, "Whoa, he died?" No, he's barely hanging on. It's like crap. It's harrowing for a little kid to see all that.
And even with all the added special effects and stuff, to me, like, yes, it's nice to see them in their original form, but I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen the stuff in a long time, but because I think I watched the ones in my box set over there, and I think they haven't changed it too much, at least in Empire. They changed maybe some edits and color grading, but like, I don't think they changed too much. Yeah, so it's nice to go back and watch those, but like, it's still enjoyable to watch. And
yeah, I'd say so.
But moving into my next topic, because that was a good feeling. We were wondering if Kathleen Kennedy is actually stepping down, right?
This is like John Cena turning heel. Like I know he's retired now, but he was. They kept teasing he was going to turn heel in wrestling, and then like it finally happened. By that time, nobody cared.
So,
but Kathleen Kennedy, yeah,
You kept finding.
If I come in tomorrow and she's still hired.
You kept finding stuff, like articles that were like teasing it and stuff. So I'm going to show you why this looks more like it might be the truth, right? There is an exit interview. She performed an exit interview, and Deadline covered it as far as what date was this again? Hold on. This is a article from Deadline. Excuse me. Let me go ahead and find the date real quick. I'm blind right now, so bear with me. I think this was January 15th.
Oh, Letterboxd is good. Sorry, there's a comment here. Mallweb says Letterboxd is good for tracking films, ratings, reviewing, discussing, and listing. Recommend. He's quite hardcore. And Joe likes to look for hidden meanings in films. Yeah, I do too. But even without that, I can enjoy a good movie. Just experiencing it. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, January 15th at 2:50. This was an article covered by Deadline, and that didn't do anything. Hold on.
Ewoks, Caravan of Courage, Battle for Endor, and the Star Wars Holiday Special are the only 3 Star Wars films. Well, if you lived in the UK, except for the Holiday Special, those were shown in theaters, which would have been awesome. I love the Ewok Adventures.
I feel like that is
of course I was
weird to say, but anyway, article from Deadline. So
be a contrarian.
They have an exit interview with her. I didn't read all the article, but the reason I'm starting to think this is more true is this links to more articles that I found. So looks like they wrapped Star Wars Starfighter, and she stated that she was handing the reins to her longtime lieutenants, Chief Creative Officer Dave Filoni, which is he's like the quality guy, right? Man, we are having some issues. I feel like the world is against me. My camera is lagging like really bad. But we'll keep going.
Communication disruption could mean only one thing.
Invasion. But anyway.
Yeah. Oh, Joe is saying the opposite. He's saying it's not the hidden meanings for him. Oh, okay.
So she was getting ready for the couple of years. I think she stated it once before. She was looking for that last win before wanting to step down.
Yeah.
We talked about that before. It says she plotted a return to producing, quoted by Deadline. She'll be making a lot of Star Wars films far in the future, as well as teaming up on some projects with Frank Marshall. So I don't know if she's just stepping down from her current position. It doesn't seem like she's leaving Lucasfilm, though. She's just stepping down.
She's never gone. That's the whole point. You see?
But this
it may not mean much.
This leads to another article here. And like I said, I apologize if I come off a little splotchy. I'm still pretty tired. It's been a long day. I'm just trying to get my bearings straight.
That was Deadline. And what's this?
This is an article from, I believe this is USA Today, which take it for what you will. It's USA Today. Same date, though, January 15th. So are you starting to see the connection, though? Because you get multiple articles saying the same thing or getting something. There's an actual exit interview involved. So they stated that Disney confirmed, so this is quoted by USA Today, Disney confirmed Kennedy's exit on January 15 and said she will transition back to full-time producing.
Okay.
So that kind of says the same thing. Oh my gosh, I hate these freaking sites. So Dave Filoni, I guess, is taking her place, which, no offense.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
whatever. A lot of people are going to think that he's the savior. Look, it's an entertainment. It's an entertainment medium. It's Star Wars at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'll just wait and see what he plans to do to lead. And if she's not leaving, who knows if he's not just taking the title and somebody's not whispering in his ear at the end of the day. You don't know. You really don't know.
Just for press purposes, you get rid of the toxic boss, but really they're still there.
Joe states that Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disney is changing from sequel theme to OG theme. Okay. That is good, but
positive thing.
Yeah.
But wasn't it like losing tons of money too? Like they mismanaged the whole.
It really was.
But
and
maybe
this face right here convinced Bob Iger to go with that new theme and stay with that new theme because it was what was hip and trending.
Wow.
I mean, those are my words. But they did fight for the sequel theme.
Yeah.
At
Well,
least
it makes sense, but I always thought that my thought was that Disney had a dual strategy. That on the one hand, they were pushing the sequels really hard with those new characters and themes, but they were simultaneously pushing the original trilogy by doing stuff like Solo and Rogue One
Okay,
and
call me
Andor.
out.
And
Call me out if I'm wrong. Has any major
yeah,
attraction of theirs showcased anything OG? That's not minor. Like a big showcase. Because I
I'm not
know
sure.
Star Cruiser used everything from like their new fucking universe. Like they ham hocked everything in there, and the villains were First Order villains, and then Galaxy's
Hmm,
Edge did the same thing.
sure.
You never
Well,
really got to travel back to the universe you wanted to, and for spending that much money, I would not want to be stuck in sequel land all day.
I never really thought about it that way, but there was a YouTuber that used to be really big. I don't follow her anymore, but Jenny Nicholson, she would always talk about the theme park stuff. It's
Yeah, I
like
watched that video of her
the
doing.
stuff about, yeah, the Disney stuff that's focused on the theme parks and how much freaking money they squeeze out of people with that is like such a huge part of what Disney does. I mean, I always think of Disney as just, oh, they just buy other people's stuff and profit from it and recycle their old stuff, but the theme parks were huge. So that is a big deal. And if they are just pushing the new stuff and not the um, original trilogy like universe stuff, that does say a lot. So if there really are switching, that is kind of a big deal. It also could be a desperation move too. I
Well,
mean, when I think
that's
of
what I'm thinking because they've been keeping this attraction for years, and finally
hmm,
leadership is
well,
changing, and they're wanting to change it.
yeah.
But
When I think of I mean, original trilogy stuff, I think of like stuff that's like dirty and broken down, like that used universe kind of theme. Um, so maybe that's like a way to save money. But then I'm thinking about, well, but the sequels, I mean, they kind of have that vibe too. It's really more like the prequel trilogy where you've got, Coruscant looks amazing. I guess Canto Bight is pretty like upscale looking. Like, I don't know, maybe it's a mixture.
but
But I think if they did it original trilogy style, you could break the stuff down and make it look dirty, and I don't know, it wouldn't have to be so fancy and it would still look good. Of
I'm
course, maybe it costs just as much money to make a dirty hangar bay versus a fancy shiny spaceship. I don't know.
before I forget, I'm gonna finish this. But yes, I don't particularly think
Ooh,
that it's more of a saving money tactic. Well, maybe, but like I think it's more of a save face tactic. Um,
save
and
face, yeah,
really,
that makes sense.
I think we had some. I don't think they were crushing high leadership, but I think the high leadership was very adamant about keeping things the way they were. But anyway, so it looks like it's leaning more towards that, and she gave a weird departure
April
line.
29th. April
Um,
29th. Hollywood Reporter is confirming it.
yeah. So anyway, it looks like Filoni's going to be succeeding her, which is fine. Uh, Joe stated that Dave at least cares about Star Wars, and who knows? Oh, I lost it. Hold on, we're getting fast chat here. Who knows what she cares about other than money and pushing agendas? Now, I I can't disagree with you on that. I've don't particularly like the way she's taken that direction, but in playing the devil's advocate, right? I personally believe that before she took over as head, she had a reason to give Lucas the faith that he needed to hand the reins over to her when he decided to part ways. You know, um, so there was passion somewhere, or anywhere. Um, I would at least say that people get older, they change, and in positions of power, I mean, we even see it in our smaller menial jobs. They like to form things the way they like it. We like to correct mistakes that aren't there. And I think this was a big fucking mistake. Like, one, handing it over to somebody who particularly probably wanted to change a lot of things about this Lake franchise that didn't need to be changed. And two, the fact that Disney got a hold of it. Just going through the article real quick. But I understand your comment, though. I think Filoni has passion. But I really think he has a skill set in creating. And at the end of the day, you could care about Star Wars all day long. It's like if you're in fast food or phone service or whatever, you could be passionate about whatever job you hop into. As soon as you're in management, if that passion doesn't agree with the person above you, then you're changing your beliefs, buddy, or you're getting another job. So I particularly don't think that, I can't say I don't think that he wouldn't be right for the job, but he's also the guy who gave quality control to the Acolyte. So
yikes.
And like I said, we all make mistakes, right? We all wear masks. But
metaphorically speaking.
No offense, Malwhip. I do not. I mean, maybe, but I don't know if I'd want to see Tarantino take over Star Wars, especially the route he's going lately, insulting everybody and everything. Maybe classic Tarantino.
See some good feet pics in Star Wars.
Oh yeah. But like I said, Kennedy did have a good resume, and it states here she even worked with Spielberg, and she had a good run. I think that once you hit that leadership role, things change, and you need somebody who is effectively not only ready to tackle that, but is also ready to actually give answers to people above you, like honest answers, instead of saying, "Oh no, we'll change it. We'll change it because my paycheck is more important than." And that's the hard part, as in this day and age, it's not the same as when Lucas had, a smaller crew. And he states it's like he even believes more that the guild works more for the people, and that's what confuses me the most is he sold to a corporate conglomerate. So
yeah, what was he thinking?
I mean, he's probably tired of it. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all human. We all fucking don't. There's times we just don't hold up to our beliefs, especially when it comes to money.
Yeah.
So this also leads into this article. I mean, to the lead, but these are what I picked up, and they were all pretty close together. This is January 18th from Outkick. And you want to read that title there, big guys? Kathleen Kennedy blames Star Wars fans for not liking her bad movies. I'm gonna put it nicer and a little bit more neutral, because if you're a news article, or you're a journalist, you should probably be. I feel like you should be a little more neutral. But yes, criticizing fans for her actions in movies, or her putting her hands, or having her creative outlook into film. You can read the article if you want. I'm going to cut to the nitty gritty, because they kind of blame her and only her. And I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you this: Kathleen Kennedy did not single-handedly create the sequels. So, she was just the approval person. So she handled a lot of the upper echelon stuff. And even if you don't know what that is, you should know that there are different levels of that stuff. And if you're creatively bankrupt and you're on the Star Wars team, then you're just as much to blame at that point. So In a new interview with Deadline, which this is why I cross-referenced these because we had an article from Deadline couched as an exit interview, and we just heard from that Deadline interview that she was oh so happy to be making the transition and giving the reins to Filoni, and it's been a wonderful 16 years, and the years prior with Lucas were great, and blah blah blah. She defended her record and turned blame to the fans for not liking her choices. When asked about the lows, she said, "You have a very small percentage of fan base that has enormous expectations, and basically they want to continue to see pretty much the same thing. And if you're not going to do that, then you know you're going to disappoint them." End quote. Incredibly, Kennedy then said she wouldn't do anything differently or change anything she's done, because we all double down in this day and age. Nobody wants to learn from mistakes or failure. Even if you're, above. So then we go into the humble pie and we say, alright, she says, quote, "I'm not sure there's anything you can do about that because you can't please everybody. All you can do is try to tell good stories and try to stick to the essence of what George created." Let's repeat that sentence. Stick to the essence of what George created. I have about 15 fucking scenes I can pull up right now that do not do that. He embedded incredible values into Star Wars and what it has to say. The whole idea of hope and fun and entertainment in what he's done over all these years, that's what I tried to preserve. And I wouldn't do that any differently. And I wouldn't change anything that we've done over the years. I understand why some people may like certain things more than others, but that's not going to change why I decided to do certain things and why I decided to work with the people that we worked with. I really, as much as I think it's wrong because you're a news outlet, I like these 3 words right here. If the people that you are vetting an interview with say this is insanity,
they're biased as hell, but they're right.
Yeah, I just want to tell people, if you like the way you're handling something because you're in leadership and you feel you're making that judgment call, more power to you. I may disagree with you. That's the greatest part of living in the country that I'm supposed to live in, is the fact that we all agree to disagree. It's an entertainment medium. It's not changing the world. It's not a law or anything like that. As much as I'm sad that it's not going the way I particularly like it, or that it's not going in a way that should be, like, I feel like it's going opposite of creative and I wouldn't say complicated, but constructive or beautiful. I could use the words opposite to that. If you feel like you made the right decisions, because I would tell my kids this, if you feel you made the right decisions and in the end your outlook didn't come out the way you wanted to, you can learn from that. But that doesn't mean you have to feel as if though you did anything wrong in that sort of case. Right. But constructive criticism is an actual thing. There are people, and I'm going to tell you, the small percent of people she's talking about aren't small at all. There's a large percent of people, there's a small percent of extremists out there that I don't support, who are using hate speech to get their word out there. But there are lots and lots and lots of people who disagree with at least 1, 2, or 5 of your projects. And even some that Dave Filoni have taken, or Jon Favreau.
That was a big excuse too. It's like, oh yeah, these fans are just haters. We could just dismiss what they say because a couple people went too far. But yeah.
I'm
sure.
I'm gonna say it this just like this. If that's the way you want to go with it, fine. But I respect that. Okay, you're a person as much as I am. I respect that. I give you points for that. Doesn't mean I'm not gonna make fun of you, or give you shit because I disagree with you. That I think that's my God-given right. Uh, if I don't like what you're doing, I'm gonna tell you I don't like what you're doing. But I'm not going to physically stop you. I'm going to tell other people I don't like what you're doing.
Yeah, it's a free market.
And at the end of the day, you can't say you've never done that before. I'm pretty sure she's done that before. I'm pretty sure she's convinced people in board meetings to change their minds. So we can do the same thing. At the end of the day, though, if you use words like stick to the essence of what George created, or preserving incredible values, one, these are buzzwords.
Yep.
These are buzzwords. And I really hate corporate structure nowadays. You are being... I can almost guarantee, I can smell that she didn't do any of these speeches herself. Somebody helped write her the speech, or she pulled it from a line somewhere. It wasn't AI written, but I can almost tell you that somebody edited it from somewhere, or parts of it where she couldn't figure it out, because there's a lot of corporate buzz speak. Every CEO does it. Every big leader does it. So I don't, and it's not true at the end of the day. If George's values were your values, we'd still hate George Lucas.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah,
like
it's not just because George is special. It's like he knew his own franchise. Fans criticized him. He doubled down, but then he caved. He compromised. He pushed it more towards what fans wanted. Like almost every time. I mean, probably the hardest thing was releasing the original cuts of the classic trilogy. Like that took the longest, but he did it. It happened under his watch, not under Disney.
And
so,
I'm gonna tell you, she used words like, all you can do is try to tell good stories. Well, there's your issue right there. I'm gonna say the cheesiest motherfucking thing on the planet. Your own movies tell you the opposite. Do or do not. There is no try.
Jar Jar. Man.
So if you're gonna like turn fucking Star Wars into your political speech theory or a public service announcement, then just say that's what you're doing. Because you have said it. She has said it in the past. She's worn t-shirts that have said it. She has gone out and made a speech. That's not George Lucas. And it's not supposed to be George Lucas. So no. I feel like she wasted an exit interview. She should have just stepped down and not said anything. Yeah. Because the only person you're embarrassing is yourself. And at the end of the day, I respect that she wants to go in this position and she doesn't want to change anything. If you're confident that you're not a colossal fuck up and you're stepping down because you want to step down, more power to you. Enjoy your vacation. But I personally don't believe that that's what it is. So there were some parts of New Star Wars I did kind of enjoy. But mostly because I was a huge, huge fan. And I wanted to believe. Like I wanted to... And it's really weird coming out of my almost 34-year-old mouth. Because I'm an adult. Like a full-grown adult. And like... going... I don't know... like going to an extreme to try to like I'm a 9-year-old, like just wanting to put forth so much effort and care into a franchise that is not even mine, or just something that I've enjoyed for so long, and not move on from it. It I don't know, it makes me feel childish at times. But that's kind of why the reason I keep coming back to these things, like AI, Star Wars, big corporation crap, because she's stepping down, and we've learned nothing. Nothing's changing, really, at the end of the day. Dave Filoni will take over, and he will still have to answer to Disney. And I'm going to tell you guys, if you've ever known that one employee that's worked in a business for so long, and he gets to bend the rules or go outside of the wheelhouse because he's lower on the ranks. Once you go into management and you're under that scope, that stops. You can have some pull, but you have to do that yourself. You have to get to know your bosses. I've been there. And I've been that boss. There's a structure for a reason. So, once again, Kennedy's not all to blame here, but at the same time, if people think Dave Filoni is going to go in guns blazing, saying, "I'm changing Star Wars, Disney, watch out," there's delusions of grandeur in there. So, that's my rant from the Rantcast today. And I keep seeing Ewoks suck my toes in the chat, and it's really freaking me out. I missed a lot because the chat was going fast. For the first time, we had a fast chat. I was like, what is going on here?
I think that's just Malweb messing with you. I mean, if that's your game, brother, I'm just going to leave it alone.
Have fun, brother. But yeah, I mean, this is a very biased article. But the only reason it's here is because it's relating to the two other articles. So,
yep.
But they're saying it's finally coming to an end. It's not. From what I heard in the other two articles, she's still going to be making projects. Yeah. She's producing, and just because she's stepping down doesn't mean they're going to go, "Oh no, Kathleen, you're no longer in charge." I'm in charge. She holds pull. She holds pull. She knows a lot of the top Disney brass, and even though there are haters, I guess, like me around, Disney isn't having a problem with it. They're still making money. So I'm gonna leave it here and say I will believe it when I see it. Filoni's gonna take the position. If he decides to take a fake title and live under Kathleen's shadow, that's up to him. I think that's a waste of her promotion, no matter how much money you take. But everybody's gonna look at me like I'm stupid for saying that because it's a lot of money. And that's why at the end of it all, right? A lot of money doesn't equal creativity. Doesn't equal good. Equals good for you. But we're in the business of entertaining people, not making a shit ton of money for yourself. So, and that's why I want to get that message out to people. That's why I've always encouraged people to vote for their wallet or with their wallet. And if you don't like something, actually don't like it. Step away from it. Get away from it. Go away from it. Because
deny them your money.
We are in such a public outcry with big corporations of all sorts, politically, entertainment wise, the insurance industry even. Some guy the CEO of United Healthcare got blasted, and they're still doing the same stuff. So, it's there's nothing this isn't like news corporations go and say this is a turning point. It's not. It's easier to do bad than it is to do good. So I would be looking forward to the lower end people, like the people who aren't in upper management or aren't running the company, to see if they can have pull with their leaders and do stuff like The Mandalorian did, or like Andor and stuff, because I think that's where we're going to get. is we're going to get somebody who is fresh-faced in Star Wars, and he's going to get a really crappy budget, and they're going to look at him and go, that's your budget. This is your resources. Go out there. And he's going to make something great. He or she's going to make something great.
Ah, Jacer's here.
What's up, Jason?
Been waiting for a Zelda mo.
You need to have limits. I also think you don't need to be restrained. Once you get all that money, it comes with something. It's happened in the gaming industry. It's happening in the movie industry too, in TV stuff. Like, excuse me. So you get like $11 billion to do all the Star Wars stuff, and that money is going to come with so much corporate hands in it. You're not going to be able to go to the bathroom without having a hand up your ass. Because like they want to vet everything. And they could go and say, oh, well, Disney was pretty open with everything I had to say. Yeah, but you still have to vet everything. And they're still going to want to make changes. And if they're doing a promotion for something, your movie has to include that promotion. Your ideas are not yours. Like, you are better off if you want to entertain people getting a bunch of money or starting off with nothing, reaping in that money to make something better. But everybody expects to make a fuck ton of money from something, from nothing. And I think that is the stupidest idea in the world. If I got into another business again, or if I got into the movie making industry, I would not be expecting to make money hand over fist. That money would go back to making another movie. Once you establish a name, then you can start looking into making money. But they want to go now. Now.
Yep, instant success. Just add water.
Yeah. I mean, it's not working. It's just like you're just getting really dull content. And people will go, well, there's nothing else around, so I might as well just go here.
Yep. Slop's the only thing on the menu, so I guess I'm ordering slop.
Adjust. Learn to live without it at that point. And I know that's somebody's going to tell me easier said than done. Go to your public library. But I am not on any social media anymore. Like any old social, like I stopped doing Facebook after like 2019. And I realized that because I was checking my phone every 3 seconds.
Oh man, I went on there just recently, and I remember why I quit.
And yeah, not to mention that everybody has an opinion on that platform. Everybody. So, but it wasn't just that. I always use that excuse. Everybody else does. My family's on it. I'm trying to stay close. I have friends I want to talk to. You know, the original use for a cell phone was to grab people's phone numbers. That's not an outdated thing. It shouldn't be an outdated thing. It's actually a faster source of communication than social media. Social media is for reaching out to people you don't know or haven't known. And I just stopped. I got out of there. And it was hard because once your body gets used to the routine, you just want to keep checking your phone or doing stuff. But I don't do that as much anymore. I find actual uses for my phone. Then getting data mined or, all sorts of other crap. So...
I always think back to when they basically admitted, like on Facebook, it was like, we'll purposely manipulate people's feeds to like only show them certain things to see if it makes them depressed. It's like, what? Yeah,
that too.
And it's like, dang, yeah.
Well, that and there's so much ads. There's so many ads and so much other crap on it.
Like clickbait, thirst traps.
I'm glad I'm not on there anymore because like it was starting to get a little too much when I got off. But
yeah, for sure. And it was like changing my opinion of like people I knew. I'm just like, I don't know you like that. Like that's not like it's just.
Well, yeah, because you don't ease into it, right? And people get aggressive when they post their beliefs on there. Like
you want to fight me, bro? Like
I can almost get along with anybody on almost any level, as long as we talk and agree about something. Like even if it's to agree to disagree, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're both people. We're both people. The greatest part about the world, and like I said about the country I live in right now, is the fact that you are to have a different opinion. I enjoy when somebody isn't agreeing with me 100% of the time. It is refreshing. Because one, it means I can usually trust the fact that you actually are telling me the truth or saying something that you want to say rather than just agreeing with me on everything. So
Yeah.
it's a nice, refreshing change of pace. So like when Bohemius like literally shoots me down every 2 seconds, I am not insulted at all.
Where is he?
I don't know. But that's why I usually tend to explain myself or get into these long ramblings, because it's one of those things where somebody asked me about AI. I think it was one of my cousins. He was like, aren't you against that stuff? You have it all over. And I'm like, I'm not against it. I'm against what the bigger corporation's doing with it, because it's messing with my hobby. It's messing with the way people buy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
AI as a tool for, writing stuff or like, creativity uses. Like, as long as you're still being creative, like if you ask it for ideas, it'll kick out some ideas to you. If you don't like those, ask it for more. Don't just let it do all the work for you. Same thing with like artwork and stuff. Like this, I'm using this, but I tweaked a lot of these things. I have that freaking watermark. It's always going to be there. But at the end of the day, I don't know what else. Don't know what else to do. And it's for my stream. I'm not selling anything. I don't sell anything. Nothing's for profit, and I don't consider myself an artist. So, like, nothing's come to that. The only thing I could say that's bad with that is the fact that I'm not paying somebody right now, but I can't afford the amount of money. Yeah. So I just go with what I got, or I make it myself. Yeah, and most likely I will.
Do it on the cheap. If you were to not, there is no try.
Yeah. So, like when people put it like what you guys had when it was a board game and they were just using it to speed up the process, they're making money off that. It's lazy.
Wait, say that again.
Lazy. When they
what are they using
with HeroQuest? They had that AI stuff, the artwork.
Oh yeah,
they're making money off that.
For First Light, yep. They really got nailed for it too.
And to me, that's an ethical concern. It's not a matter of like you were more efficient. It's an ethical concern because there are people who can do it accurately. Another thing is that it's unethical to just have dump something like that and then you sell it, because technically to sell something means it has value, regardless whether it's food or like it's provisions or materials, resources, or entertainment. It means it has value. And you demean that value when you type something in, and it doesn't matter how complicated your prompt is, whatever, you type something in, it just pops out for you, and you're like, oh, $50.
Yeah, you're charging the same amount, and it's just not. It's not what it is. I mean, I kind of felt bad for the Avalon Hill guys having to answer for that. Like, just thinking of my interview with Patrick O'Rourke, like him having to just explain that whole situation. But I was just like, yeah, they kind of dropped that on you and made you accept it, and you had to pay the price. So, but then they reversed themselves. So it's like, okay, well, that taught them a lesson, right?
Yeah, because at the end, with that,
if you want a business, you have to
and they have to rely on your business.
Yeah. And see, we had that kind of pull because, like with D&D, is much harder. They have such a large audience, and there's enough people that don't push against it that they could get away with stuff like that. Now the OGL thing, they got a lot of flack for that. So I mean, yeah, company makes a decision, they face the consequences. But if people aren't paying attention, if people aren't like caring enough, then just feed us this crap, cut corners.
Well, sorry, Joe. Most of my stuff now has been AI generated. But if it makes you feel any better, when it comes to music, I write the lyrics myself. Or I have a bass line made, I change the lyrics, and I spend like a couple hours. There is some human element put into it. As far as anything on Sora, you really can't. You just pump it out until it looks good. So, but to me, Sora is kind of like a crusty version of AI YouTube. So, it doesn't really bother me because there's no really detrimental effect to just AI slop to me as far as that goes. Yeah. But, I mean,
to Malwhip's point, yeah, for some people that was the end of the line for HeroQuest. Yeah. But my thought was, okay, you criticize them, you threaten their bottom line, and then they retract. But you got to keep doing that. Same with the D&D thing. Like, oh, the OGL scandal happens, but then you can't rest. Like, now you're questioning every decision they make. You're scrutinizing everything they do. And that's the way you have to do it if you want to stay their customer. Because otherwise, yeah, you're just going to rest, and then they're going to slip it in and, yeah, pull the wool over you.
Correct. So, that's really all I have on Star Wars. I mean, I could go on for hours about Star Wars, to be honest. If anybody hasn't already noticed, I have a very huge love-hate relationship with that franchise, and
same here.
I feel that only because they pushed as much as they did. When it was just the sequels and the Star Wars stories, I remember me and you talking when we were kind of just met almost. Like we were just talking, and we were like you were asking me about like what Star Wars movies were my favorite, and I told you, and then I told you about The Last Jedi, and you laughed.
Yes.
But I don't particularly hate the sequels, except for the last one. They're not great. They're not horrible. They're just not great. Because it has the same issues that episode 1 did, right? You sit and watch episode 1, there's a story in there. There's something to be told. The one thing Lucas did that was bad was he crammed way too much shit in there, and he threw a lot of politics in there. It was boring. And there's just a lot of build-up for nothing. And then once you started getting close to the end, then there was too much build-up. Or there's too much action. But, with the sequels, you're being drugged every which way, and you don't know what the fuck's going on. The movies have a weird version of ADHD. They can't sit down and tell you the story. It has to drag you to different scenes. Especially fucking Rise of Skywalker, man. You blink and you miss a scene.
Yeah, it's a mess from beginning to end. It really is.
And
like I thought people were exaggerating. I thought people were exaggerating. When I saw it, I'm just like, nope, they were absolutely right.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
But yeah, my point is, yeah, you're right. AI is abused a lot. It doesn't mean it's automatically bad, but yeah, it has a lot of potential for abuse, and we've seen a lot of it.
It's going to be, they're trying to make it in everything. Everything. Yep. From coding to app making, like for your phones, to, and that's what I was talking about, like GPU companies like NVIDIA and AMD. AMD just followed suit with this too, so I don't even know if I'm sticking with those companies at all. I might go to just Apple computers, because at this point, a company that wants to just rely on lazy nonsense, haphazard robotics is, to me, without any human element at all, it's just showing to me that number go up, don't care about people. Yeah. They'll find other jobs. Well, no, they won't. You're literally cutting the head off one of the biggest industries in the world, and that's it. And to top it all off, they are fighting back intelligently. There are multiple sources that prove this. They've been there. They've been to those factories. They are selling their shortage to other companies that are building the data centers for their AI data centers, which still have no power. A lot of them still have no power, but they're trying to speed run this effort. And my theory, because I've heard it multiple times, and once again, that's not a reliable source, but if it makes a lot of sense, is that OpenAI and companies like OpenAI talked with like our government. They talked with a lot of people and gave the investors a promise that they may not be able to keep, because the number to get out of this AI bubble and be able to make this a viable thing, for it to be prosperous for an investment, is in the multi-trillions. And that would be bigger than anything. So you have some of the biggest companies in the world right now signing contracts and building their own programs. And the scary part is we're in such a rush because other countries are doing this too. And we bring in political scares, like we want to make sure that like we're beating China and whatnot. And like to me, it's not about that, because when you talk about something that can't get my face correct on Sora or Grok or Gemini, these things make mistakes, huge mistakes, because they're relative to human error. Sora is meant to make mistakes. It's built in to do that for realism. And when Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, is talking to our government about military and defense for AI, it is a uncomfortable thought, because there's no resolution, or there has been no talk about it, like about giving any assurances that it's safe.
Skynet making all our decisions for us.
Correct.
Decided our fate in a millisecond.
Although it might not just be that, it just might be a mild computer system that tells somebody that this person's guilty of something, and just reading the wrong face. In fact, that happened to somebody at a bar recently, because I think the UK is trying to do something like that. And
facial recognition.
Yeah, a program picked up this dude at a bar, as I think his name was supposed to be Jeff, and his name was Dan. So he gave the guy his ID and everything, and the cop was like, "Oh, this is very similar," because their faces look the same almost.
There's a lot of people out there that have similar faces, though.
So and that's what I'm saying. It's not pulling a record like a natural machine would pull a record. It's scraping from everywhere.
You fit the description. Arrest him.
Yeah, it's because you don't have to code it. When you make a defense program like that, or even something as simple as an app, you have to code it. But with something like Base 44, you could just say, "Make me an app that does this," and then you get detailed with it. You describe some of the code, and it makes it for you in minutes. It gives you a draft, and it sets you up. And like I said, AI does that. You're not even going to know your head from your ass in the next 50 years if all you do is rely on AI, because you're not going to know how to cook a meal if AI is doing it for you. And that's what I'm talking about, is like we have to have a human element somewhere. I don't mind AI. It's the fact that we have these corporations and companies that are supposed to be smart. They're supposed to have years of experience. And they have such boners for how much money they're about to get right now, that they could care less about you or me.
Couldn't.
Because at the end of it all, it doesn't matter. They're not looking at the end goal. They're not being told it's dangerous. And if they are being told it's dangerous, they're being shoved aside. So, and I've seen some of the stuff that he's made. Like I said, Jensen Huang's a smart man, but at the end of the day, money corrupts everyone.
Yep. And that's a really good point, StrangeBus. And I just want to shout out our sponsor. No, just kidding. Take the opportunity. Well, yeah, it's like, oh, that guy's the enemy. Get him. Bomb him. It's like, oops, we got the wrong face. Brazil, and that's the premise of the movie Brazil from the 80s. It's like they type the guy's name wrong. It's
I don't
the best
recommend it yet, but I have multiple emails, right? I have there's something called a 10-second email now, where you can make it for something like if you want to do something for like a video game, or if there's something you're not so sure if it has good data collecting regulations, you can give it a 10-second email, and it will, it's like a random email that's validated for 10 seconds. It goes through, and you can use it, and then you just write it down. As long as you don't give it any personal information, that's what it'll take.
Rather than it getting scraped.
I use those, and I also use Proton, which gives me fake emails to use. Apple does that too. We are in an age of it's like walking in like New York in the 80s or 70s and being personally ripped off everywhere you go, but in the digital age. And it's scary because every time you turn on a device, that's what you're gonna get. So somebody hand you a CD and then charge you money for handing you the CD.
Yeah. I had a guy try to do that to me. He did. He tried twice. Like, Mallwhip's matching my movies with other movies. Oh, good job. Hey, can I tell you? I got a little story. Not about AI. If you're ready to wrap up.
Sure.
Yeah. So over the weekend, I got to play some HeroQuest. I know, surprise, but in person. So my cousin and her new fiance, shout out to them, congratulations. They had never played HeroQuest before, so I introduced it to them. We played First Light, Quest 1. So that was the first time I'd played that since Gen Con, and it was pretty fun. It was pretty good. They had two characters. So it was the wizard, she was the wizard, and he was the dwarf. So I just gave the wizard all the spells, which was great because then she was like, what do I use now? Because she got like all these cards to figure out. But she was a good sport about it. And then like we were getting towards the end of the quest, but I think they had like 3 rooms to go, but it's like we were going to have to wrap up. Like we were running out of time. So I just made the room that they were about to go into the final room. It's like, it worked perfectly. It's just like, oh yeah, you find the remaining scouts, you fight the bad guys, you get to the stairs, great, And I was kind of proud of myself that I was able to just kind of modify it on the fly because I was Argon. We didn't use the app or anything. So, but it's always cool. I love introducing that game to people and show them, hey, it's pretty fun, and it's pretty easy to modify it. Enjoy it. Because at first they were like, oh, is this like D&D? Is this really complicated? Yeah. I mean, partway through, they're like, oh, we should have picked the barbarian. But yeah. Oh, and I also gave them each an extra healing potion because that was the thing. I was like, well, if you get rid of 2 heroes, you're losing a lot of body points. So you should probably give them an extra healing potion each because the quest already tells you 2 extra healing potions. So it's like, okay, 4. And by the end, I mean, she'd used like almost all of her spells. They've used almost all their healing. I think they had 1 potion left, basically. So it's like, yeah, it's pretty challenging. It's a pretty challenging quest. The other time I ran it with some people, it was a total party kill. Which, I mean, it happens, but you feel bad when it's like they were really trying and they still lost. Oh yeah, they said it was really fun. I mean, sometimes when you introduce something to somebody, they're just polite about it, like, oh, thanks for doing that, but they didn't really like it. But no, they had a blast.
Hey, Kurgan, I don't mean to interrupt. After you're done here,
that was all my story.
Oh, I was gonna say, can we take a quick break here so I can grab a drink? And
oh yeah, for sure. I was gonna say, wait, we're breaking. We're not breaking tonight. We're going all the way. Yeah.
So we're gonna take a quick break, everybody, and then we'll be back about 10 minutes. And then we'll be right back. So don't go away. And I actually have a BRB screen this time. So.
All right.
So yeah, don't go away. More RantCast to come.
RantCast.
And we're back. If you're just joining us, you're watching the RantCast podcast. I'm your host, Josh, also known as TheStrangeBus. You can find me at twitch.tv/TheStrangeBus. That's twitch.tv/TheStrangeBus. I'm also joined by my other host here, Kurgan, also known as HeroQuest Fans. And you can find him at twitch.tv/HeroQuest That's twitch.tv/HeroQuest. You ready to go, Kurgan, whenever you're ready?
Yeah, back. Yeah.
I feel like you go hard on purpose so that the RTX voice can obliterate you.
Destroyed. Yep. Good to be back on the Rantcast. Thanks, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, for real. No, thank you. We always enjoy having you guys here.
Chell's here.
Never thought I'd be just chilling out doing like a podcast for 2-3 years. So it's a wonderful experience. Even though like I've had my ups and downs, not being completely consistent. I appreciate that we still have an audience that understands that. So thanks, guys.
Another great line. Never thought I'd be facing the end with a side by side with an elf. How about side by side with a friend? I could do that.
That's right.
Should I describe what's happening to you out there, or should I fetch you a box? Ah! So good.
All I recall is that still only counts as one.
Still only counts as one. Yep. You've got to trust me. Don't tell the elf. Not a word.
Okay, so I don't know if anybody else is familiar. I think I've brought them up before, but I was in my downtime watching a channel on YouTube called Red Letter Media. If you've ever heard of them, I know you've heard of them, right? Yeah, you've heard of them. Oh. I bet everybody has probably heard me quote these guys a couple times.
Once or twice, maybe.
And it got me talking, or it got me thinking that we have never talked Trek a lot on the show.
Star Trek.
Yeah. So, and they were doing a couple segments on it, and they were talking, I think their newest one, they talked about Deep Space Nine. And, yeah. I was in love with TNG, and then I found Deep Space Nine.
Oh, yeah.
So,
a lot of people.
I am due to rewatch it, because I have only watched it all the way through once.
Same.
But I have this thing for it. Everybody calls it like they liked it or they liked it or didn't like it because it was so gritty, or it wasn't Trek like the other Star Treks were. Like it wasn't like they were traveling. They weren't like you were always on the starship exploring new worlds or whatever, right?
Towards the end of the series, though, they did do a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, they're in a war context, but yeah, I like Deep Space Nine a lot as well. I see why people loved it, but I gotta admit there was a lot of filler episodes.
Yes, there was.
But the good episodes
it was for TV.
Were great.
It was meant for.
The good episodes were great.
It was meant for. What do they call that? Man, I always hate like not having enough sleep. I always like get dementia brain. It was meant for for reruns. There's a better word for that. Syndication. Yeah, it was meant for syndication. Yeah. So, thank you. But so I can kind of deal with it. There is I think an episode list if you don't want to deal with it. But just the kind of the change of pace was very nice. Change of pace was very nice. It wasn't like it kind of got away from the norm. But I still like TNG when it comes out. Hell, I even like some episodes of TOS. But which is another big thing. Did you know? because I found this out. Did you know that there are current gen kids watching TOS right now?
Nice.
They're reacting to it.
Nice.
Get those weird
I
reactions.
love the original series, and I even the bad episode, the original series, I enjoy watching.
Oh man. Oh,
Yep.
didn't they restore some of those so they didn't have like the weird,
Oh
like
yeah, they remastered all of
string?
them.
Like yeah, I remember watching an older one back when it was on TV. It was like an older rerun, I guess. And yeah, oh
Well,
boy.
the problem I remember I watched it on our little black and white TV, and it was like when you're not watching it in color, it's really obvious. It's like it's always the same shot of the Enterprise going around the same planet, and it's the same like establishing shots, and it's like, so yeah, they varied that up, they changed it. Actually, it's funny because in the remaster, it looks like a CGI Enterprise, but it's actually not. It's actually a physical model. Isn't that
Really?
weird?
Yeah, because it
But I
did.
can't.
Like in the remaster, it looks like they did some computer generated
It,
stuff.
yeah, they did a lot of computer generated stuff, but the Enterprise is apparently a physical model. But so I don't know if it's just the way they lit it or if they like enhanced it. I bet
They
they
probably
enhanced it.
layered it, so they probably had
Yeah,
it.
they
They probably had it
filtered
there.
it.
They probably did their panning shot, and they layered over it probably.
Probably, yeah. But yeah, it ends up looking like CGI. It looks good, but it's just like, yeah, you're just like, oh, that's computer generated. It's like, nope. Kind of like when you're watching the prequels and you're like, oh, that's
It
CGI. Nope,
it
those are practical.
it did need. I have to say I haven't seen an original episode in a long time, but I felt like it did need that quality of life improvement.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
I don't rely on CGI, but like man,
but I mean, in the original, the spaceship shots, I think they were. I'm gonna get it wrong, but it's like, what's the standard? It's 35 millimeter film.
uh,
Yeah,
it's
35 millimeter
yes,
film.
35 millimeter.
It was
Yeah.
it was shot on, so the regular scenes of TOS were shot in 35 millimeter film, but all the spaceship shots and like the planetary shots, all that stuff was 16 millimeter. So like you see the quality go down. It suddenly becomes much more grainy and like you
Yeah,
lose
so
a lot
you
of
don't see the
detail.
string and the cardboard and yeah, it's really bad. Like no offense to any like original Trekkies out there, because
It's
I'm
the
telling
character.
you, I have a lot
Yeah.
more respect now than I did when I was a kid, because I was one of those Trekkie versus Wars person back in the day. I refused to watch it. I saw it on TV once, but I refused to touch it because I was
I
like,
like
no.
See, I liked them both. I mean, I watched Star
But there
Trek
was
every week,
a rivalry
and
though back in the day.
I watched Star Trek every week, and I would watch the movies, Star Wars movies on the special occasions. The Star Trek movies are kind of a mixed bag. Like half of them are absolutely terrible, and the other half are pretty awesome. But if you're not invested in the characters, they're hard to get into because you're like, why the heck do I care about these guys?
Yeah.
But yeah, Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, and the rest of the.
They
I had
were.
a
I
crush
feel like
on
some of the.
Uhura.
I felt like some of those episodes were meant to be genuinely terrifying though. Like at some times, like kind of like how
Terrifying?
yeah, kind of like with TNG. TNG had a little bit of Gene
Oh yeah,
Roddenberry in there in the first season, and
yeah. First and
um,
second. Yeah.
a lot of people said it wasn't that great, and probably due to the fact that there was mounting tensions between an old Roddenberry and the crew. I think because I even looked this up because, like I said, I was watching RLM and they were talking about it, and I was like, really? I was like, because some of my favorite episodes were from season one, and it really
TNG?
makes me feel yeah, like not
Yeah.
favorite of all time, but I like the idea because right now it's really outside of the norm, because to people it's so impossible, it's so asinine that humanity found a way to fucking push their problems aside and get along
Yeah.
with each other. Like yeah, we still have our minor tiffs and whatnot, but there's still problems, but we managed to get the major shit taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a strong theme early on. And to
Because
be fair, once you get to Deep Space Nine and Voyager and all that, it's like they show cracks in it. So they're trying to say,
yeah.
well, actually, there was corruption all along. It's just you had people like Picard who were idealists who didn't see it.
Oh, see,
But
and I
when it
never
starts
thought of
out,
it that
you
way.
don't.
I thought that
When
like
it starts out, you don't know that. You don't
humans
know
are
that.
always
You're just like, wow, we got our act together. We figured things out. We pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps, and now, okay, we got to fight aliens. Okay, fine.
But think of it that
But
way,
even
like
that stuff, we're like figuring it out. We're like solving those problems, and it's like very optimistic.
I've never thought of it as perfection though, and that's the thing was like I never thought like, so going into Deep Space Nine, like it didn't make me happy because it was gritty. It was just the fact that like you had
it's far away from the Federation. Things are not. It's like on the edges of society.
More of the fact that you had. It still just showed the fact that there were some people who weren't always keen on everything, right?
Yeah.
And there are species out there that are hell bent on not being nice, and like, so, you know, we could still have our shit figured out and still hate each other a little bit. Like that's not, you know, that's not the problem. It's, I think what was explained was that like we solved a lot of our major problems on Earth. We went out to explore the world or the galaxy, and now we're running into problems out there. But I think Roddenberry was so uptight with TNG because it was like nobody within the crew could have a conflict.
Yeah, that's true. It always had to be resolved right in that episode.
And it was, to me, that I would disagree with that because humans we're animals of conflict. Like even if we get along or find a way to persevere, like that's
competitive.
Yes, or you could be competitive. It's not just that. Also, the fact that sometimes we don't always think the same way. So, even if it's something you can get along with, you have to either overcome or find other ways around other people's way of thinking to reach a common goal. Like it's, you know, I always feel like that's kind of a thing. And you know, TNG did it good. They had their things later on in the seasons where like not everybody was perfect and whatnot, but it was nice for a little bit where like they were like in season 1 where they brought the people from the 80s back, and you know they were greedy. You had the businessman who was like, I gotta make a phone call, my stocks are going through the roof. And
you got the good old boy with get some low mileage wolfing.
So I think they're like a gambler or something. Like it was. It was nice to have stuff like that because it did kind of showcase a lot of that stuff. And and clean shaven Riker.
Smooth as the back of a baby's
Yep.
Android butt. Hey, Data. That was a bad movie. Yeah, clean shaven Riker. Always swinging his leg over the back of the chair.
Yep, and aggressively hitting on women.
Yep. Well, hey, if you take the, I mean, he definitely did. But if you take the body count, it's kind of like people saying that Kirk is always scoring, and that actually half the time he's the guy getting seduced by the woman. I mean, granted, he kind of throws himself in the path.
What, Riker?
Yeah. If you watch the episodes, it's not always him like charming his way. Like a lot of times they're going after him.
Yeah, it's just
like I said.
I didn't realize it at first. There was like an episode.
He's not discouraging them in any way, but
there was like an episode where he.
He falls in love with the holodeck character.
No, that one too. That one was a little weird, but it was like this Irish woman, and she was like, "Are you gonna show me where to wash my feet?" And he was like, "Oh yeah," like, yeah, and it was like, he got like hit on, but like, he was always like the smooth talker and stuff. So,
well, that's so Picard could stay like very formal, very proper, but then you could still have the hunk, the heartthrob guy.
Correct. I liked that. I think it was episode 2 of season 1 with the virus. I think that was episode 2.
To make it now.
That I also didn't notice because it was brought up to me that when everybody started getting drunk, the men were a lot more composed. Some of them were a little off, but all the women were like sexual deviants. I didn't notice that because I noticed that Beverly Crusher was because there was like a scene where she was like hitting on Picard. He was and he was like, please, like he was like trying really hard, like.
She's like all over him. Yeah,
like, I have needs, and he's like, hey, Crusher, please. He's like trying.
Yep. That's interesting. So it's like the women were like, they were the horn dogs, and they were like extra composed.
But yeah, even like Tasha Yar and everything. She just picks up a crewman off the. She's like, hey, like oh shit.
Yep. He's like throwing Data on the bed. He's like, I'm fully functional. That's like good.
Yep.
Dang. Man.
So yeah,
maybe don't show that one
bad
right away.
No, and I don't think it was a bad season. I think it was still trying to. I think they were trying to please Roddenberry a lot, and like I didn't know how bad he was. Like I didn't know how because he was I guess he was very distrustful, and he was very like paranoid around that time.
Yeah.
To the point where it like got on everybody's nerves, actors, production, everything. So
they basically forced him out of the show after a while, but it was probably for the best.
Yeah.
So I would say.
Well, season 2 picks up, and I think that's half the reason. Well, it's not half the reason, but I think that's kind of why Tasha left. Well, Yeah,
they killed her off. They brought They brought the actress back to play different characters, but it was never the same.
And who was the guy who she did the tweet for, where he was like, I still have her communicator in my desk. I remember filming this episode. It was the last episode she was in. Blah, blah, blah. And then she, like, replies and says, hey, that's not exactly how it happened. We filmed those episodes out of order. Also, I remember us going to a dinner, and at the end of the dinner, you came over, ripped it off my chest, and said, you won't be eating this anymore.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Dang. Wow. Shots fired.
Yeah, dude.
That's drama. That's some drama. I don't think you remembered it right.
Nope.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Rhymes with ass and hole.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess some of the criticism was, like, Tasha Yar was an interesting character because, she showed, like, a crack in the, like, perfect Federation idea because it's like, oh, she's on this planet where...
She was cool. I liked her character at the beginning, and I was really sad that when that happened.
She was a badass chick. I'm sure there were some guys growing up that,
And another thing was that I noticed that she didn't get a lot of screen time, and that was another reason why she didn't. She kind of wanted to pursue other projects, but
it was like she and Worf were always fighting for what they could do because it's like, okay,
she had
she's
a moment.
Security officer, but weapons officer.
She had a moment during that last episode though. They gave her a moment. And then it was mentioned that, like, and I agree with that. It was mentioned that, like, if she had more moments like that, or even just slightly, like, an increase, and, like, the amount of times, like, they would give her some dialogue, her character would have actually flourished. She would have had a decent character.
Yeah, they could have given her more.
And it's sad. Anyway, back to Deep Space Nine. But I was, because I like TNG, but, like, Deep Space Nine to me is a refresher, and whether you like it or don't like it, the fact that having a main character who has worked his whole life in the Federation just to get his family wiped out by Captain Picard, well, kudos aboard, but and then to pretty much like fall into this slump. It wasn't his family. He lost his wife, but he falls into this almost slump he can't get out of, only to be told by Captain Picard, like, to be given orders by the same man.
Yep.
That first episode is what sucked me in. Like, him having to go and meet him, and, like, you could tell it was not only uncomfortable, but then, like, there was no compassion or nothing, because he knew him, but Picard did not know him. And there was a time like, do you have a problem or something like that? And he, no, sir. Like, like, it was it was interesting. So, because I like that. Like, they're not perfect. No human is perfect. We all experience emotions, and like, you can still get your major shit taken care of while having simple emotions like anger, rage.
Yeah, we
Um,
know they're not perfect. It's just that when you make your media, I mean, you can make your show and portray the hero as being right every time.
Picard was just
Now,
stingy. He was very stingy.
yeah, but sometimes he was wrong, and it's like sometimes the show would portray him as right, but the audience wouldn't buy it. They're like, "No, come on, he made the wrong call," you know.
Yeah.
But it's like later on they would admit that they would be like, "Oh, he makes a mistake, he makes a bad call, and
Joe.
he has to learn from it."
It was okay. I look to me, and I got into it more when Star Wars started to kind of go downhill. I finally sucked it up, and I started with TNG. It was on Amazon at the time. I don't know if it still is. It probably isn't. Discovery owns their own. Not Discovery. Paramount has their own shit. So, I didn't know about the new Star Trek crap, which is even worse than what they're doing to Star Wars. I feel really bad. But
Picard, people had such high hopes about Picard, and apparently.
Oh, totally disagree with you, my friend. I think last time I told you, and this was 6 years ago, because I told you I was doing a marathon. That was when I first started. And you were like, oh, you better strap in. It was like during COVID, and I was like, I started with TNG. I went to Voyager, my friend.
I was proud of you for trying.
And
yeah, Voyager, it was tough.
Voyager wasn't that bad.
What about Enterprise?
I didn't finish Enterprise.
It's been a long time.
Although I think I was moving around the time that I did Enterprise, and I just forgot about it. So I might try again.
I watched Enterprise first before I watched Voyager, and I think it tainted my view because I felt like there were so many similarities between those two shows, like the idea of them having like less technology, more enemies, more confusion, more crew conflicts, and it felt like they were just retreading the same stuff. Time travel. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like you didn't need to make both shows, but
you definitely get into like the more 90s era feel.
Yeah.
With Voyager.
That's if you're watching the whole show. If this is a show that you didn't watch often, that you just like occasionally caught it, it'd probably be fine. It's just that if you're following it and you're trying to you're looking for story arcs, you're looking for character development, you're going to be really disappointed.
And keep in mind, I can't remember if it was Roddenberry or the other guy, I can't remember his name, but I noticed that with TNG and Deep Space Nine, they did things like they didn't utter any current jargon.
Yep.
Excuse me. At the time, they didn't do any anything that was relevant to the time at hand. The only thing you could tell those shows were made around that time was the quality in which they were made, and maybe the hairdo. So, I think once you started getting more into like Voyager and stuff, you started to notice 90s, late 90s isms, or like the bob cuts, and I think they tried to do that in Deep Space Nine with what's her face. They did that with her in like the beginning, and then she like totally changed her hair. But like that 90s era bob was crazy.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of that. Yeah, because yeah, I know what you're talking about. Major Kira had that.
Yes.
Like bob cut, and Ezri Dax. Did Jadzia Dax? No, she had long hair. But yeah, you definitely had that. See, the thing is though, a lot of these shows like TNG I watched when it was on the air. Deep Space Nine I only watched a couple episodes. So Deep Space Nine, Voyager, I watched them like way after they were off TV. So I guess I didn't quite have the same reaction, but yeah, you're right. You do see those cultural influences more deeply, and trying to be more.
The returning characters helped, like Engineer O'Brien.
Yep.
Reporting for duty, sir.
They brought Worf in too.
Here not to do the transporter, sir.
He was drinking all that prune juice, staying regular. That was his problem.
Yeah,
really.
And Worf came in like what, season 3, 4, I think. He came in towards the end, if I remember right.
Yeah. When they brought in the Defiant, so then they started having adventures out in space. So it was a little more like TNG.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Or at least they had that option if they wanted to.
I did like the return of Worf. Worf was nice, and it wasn't. like they're bringing a like a big character, but Worf was big enough that it was like, you got some familiarity, you got a little bit of TNG in there if you wanted. Um, and they were trying, I think, at the beginning of the show to try to sprinkle a lot of like, they didn't know exactly where they wanted to be. So I think that as they got further in, like season 2 and stuff, it got a lot more interesting. Once again, what's that guy's name? Man, I keep forgetting their names, and it doesn't help my cause.
Which
Bashir.
Dr. Bashir, yeah.
Yes. Also
Julian Bashir
has way worse Riker vibes.
Oh yeah.
Very,
I didn't really like
very creepy at the very beginning. Like I didn't know what, and I think that was typical of the '90s. That like I don't know how to understand what no is. Like,
yeah, like ethics. What are those?
like I'm just this young, hot 20-something that just can't say no, and that's how I was taught to approach women. I guess it was very typical, right? Because it wasn't like super aggressive. But it was
Julian
like a little,
little
aggressive. Yes, it was just a little aggressive. Like sit down, like, hey, maybe you want to go to lunch sometimes. Like it was Ezra Dax that he was hitting on. She was like, I don't think you quite understand how that works. Like,
hey, yeah.
Well, maybe you could teach me. Like, no, dude. But yeah,
Joe. I really enjoyed Babylon 5, especially that first season.
Never saw it.
I blasted through that first season. I had a little bit of trouble with the second because they swapped out some characters, but I definitely want to go back to it. I'm somewhere in season 2. I'm also watching Andromeda, but I took a break from that as well because I knew I was getting to the point where people were saying, well, the series starts to change about this point, and you might not like it. So, but yeah, I kind of took a break from all that for a while, but I definitely do want to go back and rewatch those shows. I really enjoyed Firefly. That was a good show.
That's if you want to get disappointed, you watch Firefly because that show's never getting picked back up.
It's not, but I knew that. I knew that going in.
So good.
I knew that. And the movie, the Serenity movie, I thought that ruined it for me. I mean, I have to just forget about it. I mean, I love the show.
Everybody likes Firefly, and they'll never pick it back up. And it's like Heroes. Do you remember Heroes?
Yes, I do.
Like, and what a fucking cliffhanger that ended on. And like,
yes.
It's probably not good. It's probably not as good anymore. Like people rewatch it and be like, "What was so good about this?" Like back in the day, though, when like you had lacked a decent superhero movie, and like you actually had a show on television, like on, I think it was CBS or some shit like that, like on fucking public television, that did that job. It was kind of nice.
Heroes was enjoyable, but they dug themselves in a hole. I think there were a couple places, like towards the end of a season, it's like, oh, they have every opportunity to like move forward, but then it's like, oh, just kidding. We're gonna kill off a character, but bring him back and then change them. It's like, okay, I don't know if I like that. Like, just no.
Yeah.
I guess. Well, for me, Heroes was a show that I enjoyed, but it kind of burned out for me. Not as bad as like Battlestar Galactica. That one just so disappointed me. So disappointed me.
Beers,
and I mean that was a show Battlestar Galactica was a show I was so loyal to. Like I just fought tooth and nail like every second to try to like it. But it just let me down.
Your nerd is showing really hard right now.
I know. They were my boys. They let me down. Joe says Firefly rocks. Never watched Andromeda. Well, I had always heard Andromeda was crap. Like it was trash. It sucked. Like the trailers made it look like trash. So I never gave it a chance. But actually, what a lot of people say is it's good up until a certain point, and then it starts to like take a dive. So I'm getting close to the point where people say it's not good anymore, and I'm enjoying it. So I'm like, I don't know.
I've avoided Battlestar Galactica only because the time and the fact that I don't want to get lost in the TV show right now. I have so much TV shows that I want to like re-up on. And speaking of TV, before we continue,
Mhm.
current TV is still not super bad. I encourage people that if you like, I know like certain people aren't as comfortable with like maybe day and age quips or like um, maybe the type of TV show, but I always encourage people to give it a shot. Pluribus. It's an Apple TV original. If you have Apple TV or you have a way to access that show, because I personally don't care, I don't recommend it on the stream, but I would definitely take a look at it. It is really good, and I watched the entire. I don't usually binge watch. I binge watched. That was really good, really good. Um, that and Severance, both were really good. So that's my input.
Yeah. The problem with Battlestar Galactica again is I feel like when they started the series, they had these arcs planned, these story arcs. But once they got away from those story arcs, they were just making it up. And they were having like message episodes and just it felt like they wrote themselves into a corner, and the things they came up with were just very disappointing.
So Joe,
I
I was talking about Pluribus. It's a newer show. I don't really want to break it down because it kind of spoils what the show's about. Yes.
So no one can tell you what the Matrix is. You have to see.
Jay and Mike didn't explain it either because they were like, just go watch it.
Oh, Red Letter
So
Media.
I watched it. Yeah. Look. I have a weakness at times. I don't religiously watch them, but I do look at their recaps because they are pretty knowledgeable with movies, and they have really good. I think they have really good like. They're goofy, but they have pretty decent opinions on stuff, even if I don't always agree with it. So, no, but they recommended that because they were comparing that with Stranger Things,
Oh yeah.
and they were
I
like
gave up
making
on it.
they were making a good characteristic because um, it'll and like I don't have a problem with it. Please, there's my disclaimer. I grew up in that environment. Um,
Yeah, me too.
well, no, hold on, I'll get there.
Oh, sorry.
There's a lot of TV shows and movies nowadays try to ham hock. They like insert forcefully something, whether it's a diversity thing or like, hey, look at this like character who's gay
Oh, I heard
or
about Yeah.
transgender or something. I don't care personally. I don't. Like they were even trying to do that with Star Wars, and like as much as I wouldn't care, it's one of those things that is. Does it need to be announced in the story, like to the world, or can they be just casually like that? Because if you're in the middle of battle, if somebody came prancing along saying, "Oh, check me out," like, would you stop and go, "No, you wouldn't," and it's
Oh.
and yeah, like Stranger Things, they had I like I said I agree with this, and I'm bringing this up here. It was stated by multiple people, not just RLM here, but I even looked up a couple articles, and then tried to find the like the interview or the behind the scenes. It really did seem like all those guys were under a contract to get a certain amount of screen time or to meet a certain part in a scene together, because when that scene came to fruition, there's a scene where I can't remember what the name. I don't have any interest in this show, but there's a kid like a bobcat who's supposed to come out as gay in this show, and when he does, he like emotion dumps to 15 people in the room, and if you have an attachment to those characters, great. I couldn't imagine you having an attachment to all 15. Not to mention the fact that this is supposed to be about the child or the kid here, and wouldn't it be make more sense if you talk to your parents or like somebody
Yeah.
close to you? Like, because I understand even back then it was hard to talk to your parents. Like, so like brother, sister, close friend. Be like 15 people in that fucking room, and they're about to go fight a monster or some crap, and that's what the whole point, or not monster, but like the villain. And this dude's like crying, like it's gonna be his Oscar nomination, and but to me, it's not the gay thing. It's how they presented it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
I personally, I could care what I could give a shit less. I grew up with two moms. I had to face a lot of that crap. I mean, it doesn't make me relatable. It's just the fact that I've seen a little bit of the struggle, so I can kind of understand. But I've never once seen somebody like point a camera at themselves and broadcast it, like
Yeah.
thinking it would make things better. And like I felt like that scene there was like, everybody come gather around and listen to my story. And like, if you really had that hard of a time, I feel like that could have been done differently. Now, if you disagree with me and you're like, fuck that, they did a great job, hey, wonderful. You might convince me, because I've never seen it. I only saw that scene, and it looked really weird and out of place. Now, Pluribus, your main character in Pluribus is an author. She's a book writer who writes romance novels for lonely and kind of like those lonely, isolated women, like the 50 Shades of Grey type people. And she writes like those really romantic, off to sea shore novels with this character. They have a woman character and then a character called Raban, who is a character that she's inspired her spouse from. She is a lesbian. It is not ham-hocked in that show. The only way you know it is because when at the beginning of the show, she's signing copies. There's a lady over there that we presume at first is like a friend or her manager. They both get in the limo and they start holding hands. And then they go to dinner together and they start talking. Like, it's casually put into the story. Like, your character has has somebody that they lean to. They happen to be gay. It's not like with, so there's some shows that like, instead of just doing that, they'd start holding hands and then there'd be an internal dialogue. My name's Rachel. I'm a lesbian. This is my partner. Blah blah blah. And it would be the main focus, and it would take you right out of what the show's supposed to be, because the show isn't about that. It's about an ongoing terror. It's about something that's supposed to be bigger than you. And while yes, we're getting to know the character, you can do it without having an internal monologue. At least I think so, right? It's not about your sexual orientation or anything like that. I am for the diversity thing here, because regardless of what I believe in or whatever is going on, people should feel comfortable. They can relate in movies. Great. But I feel like Hollywood is in such a rush to pour out these types of characters that they're doing it horribly. So, I mean, yeah, Joe. Like you said, I think we're kind of getting to the same point here, maybe. But like I said, I don't think Stranger Things did it right. I think Pluribus does it great. I think that you would be able to enjoy Pluribus regardless of like political affiliation or whatever, and that's where I'm getting at. Because I don't like to get political on this podcast, but like the big thing here is the fact that like I think it does need to be addressed, is the fact that I think that show does a really great job. And I'm going to tell you this, I'm going to give you a clue about that show, is you're going to think it's an alien movie. It's not. You're going to think it's a virus movie, and it's not. And that's the most confusing part, because it's something that will challenge it. It challenged me and my wife, because the only thing I could say is it gives people like a dilemma. Like, would you rather lose your individuality and join people who are unified as one being? But that means like whoever makes you like Star Trek, you like all these TV shows, right? That knowledge goes do a hive mind, and you and me have the same knowledge. You have everything I know, I have everything you know. We move as one entity. But in that turn, we now no longer give a shit because we know everything about each other, right? We now no longer race is not a problem, war is not a problem. It's truly what Gene Roddenberry, it's perfection.
Yeah, harmony.
Our personal wants and needs are no longer important. Or would you rather be individual? And it's a very complex way of thinking, because I sat there in that beginning of the movie. I was like laying there. I was like, that sounds great. And my wife looked at me and goes, "Are you insane?" As I was like,
perfect. So they started a conversation.
Yeah, well, yeah, I did, because I was like, like I said, however anybody's thinking right now, I was just like, we're in tough times, right? And I was like, I would much rather just, I would give up a lot of things, but like I also have like, she goes, you have like 4 kids. I was like, I'd still have 4 kids. Like it, and that's the thing is I don't keep in mind. Keep in mind, it's a movie. I don't have any personal like belief in it. It's just for fun. Yeah, I could just see somebody saying, "How dare you?" It's like, please don't burn me at the stake.
Burn him.
But yeah, it is a really good show. And if you put yourself in that position, and let's say it's appalling to you, but somebody next to you goes, "Oh, that sounds like a great idea." It's almost the ideal of like socialism, I think, at that point. Take it with a grain of salt, please. It's
well. Speaking of that, you go back to TNG. You do have like sort of a discussion, like, is the Federation a socialist utopia? But then you have the Borg collective, which is like even more that way, and it's like
they're truly a hive mind, though.
But it's like a nightmare. Yeah.
And that's kind of what Pluribus is. I don't want to spoil it too much, but that's what it is, pretty much.
Yeah, because they didn't have the Borg Queen and all that stuff at the beginning, but it was just like, yep, they have no individuality at all.
As far as I know, as far as the show's told me, there is no leader that's displayed. It's like if the whole human race was one entity, but there's still individual humans walking around. But they, like, once it happened, they were like, there's like a scene of like when it happened, when they started taking over. What happens during that process is when somebody's like infected with that, they like have a seizure or something, and then they just get like, they just zombify for a minute and then they just walk off. Well, some people are like driving, and some people are flying, some people are, doing things that could cause injury. So a lot of people died. So what happens is there's like an episode where there's a lady who looks like she's from the Middle East. She's got rags, she's wearing boots, she's dirty, and she's like walking off to a car. She pulls a body out from the car. A guy comes down on a moped. He helps her out. A truck pulls back. This dude lifts the tailgate up. They load the bodies into the car, and she takes the moped and drives it to a cargo plane and just instantly knows how to fly the cargo plane, while the other 2 people who are stronger than her handle the heavy lifting, because she was just there to get the process started while stronger work came in to finish the job. And
interesting.
Yeah, but like it was, it's very very interesting. Getting a little far fetched with the whole Hollow Earth theory. How you move around Earth? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was talking about Godzilla.
Monarch, huh? See, that's another Apple thing. Yeah, Pluribus is good. Severance is also really good. If you don't like Pluribus, but Severance is also pretty good too. It was like last year's hit show on Apple, and that's pretty good too. It's like imagine, because you kind of have a similar workplace, but it's like, imagine having an office job where you go to work, you go into the elevator, you hit the button, and all of a sudden your memories from home and stuff go away, and you have a different personality. It's a different person that goes to work for you. Like, your memories for work and home are different. They're split up. So, like, work Kurgan and home Kurgan are different. Because as soon as you leave that building, the memories from work go away. They're gone. They stay there. It's very...
I'm Batman.
Yeah. That's with the guy from Parks and Adam Scott, I believe is his name. Yes, he does a really good job.
That makes
Really
me
good
think
job
of something.
because it doesn't introduce the character at all. You only get to know the character from his work side until later on, and it's very interesting.
I just had a random thought. You remember Batman the animated series?
Yeah.
Yep. So they changed it later in the show, but in the early seasons, so Batman has his Batman voice, right? And Bruce Wayne has a different voice. But you'll notice like Bruce Wayne is at Wayne Manor and he's talking to Alfred. Nobody else is around. He talks in the Batman voice, even though he doesn't have a costume on. I thought that was cool.
Oh, that's pretty
It's
cool.
like Bruce Wayne is really the disguise. He's always Batman.
So, TV-wise, I think with the world changing as it is, I think TV is still pretty good. But I think that's because mostly big studios are focusing on TV. And, I mean, besides Netflix.
So,
But my wife likes Netflix, so I don't know.
Are we still talking? We're still talking about broadcast TV, or are we talking about streaming?
No, streaming.
Okay.
Jeez, Kurgan, get with the program.
So if I don't have Paramount Plus, Disney Plus.
Do you still watch cable?
I don't have cable.
You're what Mike said. You're one of the worst people on the planet. You're one of those those library people.
Yeah, I do go to the library.
That was hilarious because that was the first thing I thought of, and I laughed so hard, dude.
E to a T. Yep. I refuse.
Oh wait, hold on. I'm gonna grab that snippet. I won't show it.
I mean, my parents have Roku. I mean, I watch that stuff when I visit them. Like, if I'm at home, if I'm gonna watch a movie, yeah, I either go to the library, I buy the DVD or the Blu-ray.
Oh man.
Yeah, I will watch it on like Pluto TV or Tubi or something. No, but most of the time, if I like a movie or a TV show, I just buy it.
Who watches broadcast TV anymore? My grandfather still has. I think he has Dish, and so does my grandmother-in-law. And the funny thing is, my grandfather believes that like most of the time, buying a more expensive TV means better. So he bought a Sony Bravia, a smart TV, which it is a better TV. But he bought the smart TV, but still has cable hooked up to it. And I love the man with everything that I have, but if you don't want to learn the smart TV features, you could have bought a cheaper TV.
Yep. Yeah. I always thought the smart TVs were, I mean, it's like getting a phone. I mean, it's going to be obsolete. But do you really want to buy a new TV every 2 years?
Okay, hold on.
Switch to TurboTax.
Oh, there's my ads.
File your own taxes free in the app.
This is not sponsored by TurboTax, by the way.
Nope. Should you let AI do your taxes?
No. But TurboTax is switching to an AI program.
Dang it. See, I was kidding, but yeah. Should have realized.
Your local library.
Oh, yeah, here it is. Found it. I was right on the money.
Oh.
If this were an Indian caste system,
Right here.
it'd be the Untouchables.
One of those boxes that let us watch just about
Wait.
anything. Yeah.
Library
Wait.
people.
Oh my god.
Do you know these exist?
I didn't know these existed.
The
I mean, I know libraries exist.
Your
but-
local library also carries movies, and some people
You have
go
to watch
the
it.
library,
You have to listen to it on
get a
the
library
stream,
card, and
Kurgan.
wait.
One of the best hidden treasures in
Oh, okay.
Newcastle.
So, because Kurgan couldn't hear it,
Whoops.
that was a snippet from RLM. He was talking about library. He called them library people, which makes me laugh because it's like he's like some sort of like ghoul. They wait 2 years and then go and watch it at the library.
Hell yeah, bro. That's the secret.
But Jay does have a point, though. Some things do not come out on physical release for the library.
It's true.
So,
Well, it's like people who say, "Oh, I never buy anything. I just pirate it." Like, well, I'm not pirating it.
but that's what I say. I don't always agree. And, like, at the end of the day, I'm not. It's not like I'm having lunch with these guys.
I'm just saying, like,
they're just experienced folks.
It's an opportunity. It's like, yeah, you know, maybe I don't want to pay $15 for something, but after a while, it's like, gee, there's this big pile of free stuff I could check out. Nothing wrong with it. Let's see what's going on. Check out 10 DVDs and.
I think it was brought up more because this was at the time when they were first talking about AI, and they were also talking about like the fall of movie theaters, and I think it's just Mike Stoklaza being Mike Stoklaza. Being an asshole for fun, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. Well, during COVID, I saw a ton of movies that way. Like lots of movies that I skipped over. Just like, you know what? Here's my opportunity. Let's check it out. Let's see if it's any good. And most of it wasn't, but there were a few. I was like, yeah, this was a good movie. Kind of wish I'd seen it in the theater. You know? But at the time, I was just like, nah.
It's great. I would be a library person if I could. Hell, I'd be Star Wars man.
Sorry, Star Wars man.
Sorry, Star Wars man.
Yeah, I think there was they also have this thing called interlibrary loan. I don't know if you've heard of it, but
No.
they don't have it. They'll ship it to the library that's local for you. Now the only thing is, some of the libraries out there charge you a fee for it, so it's like, dang. So do I want to pay more for the gas to travel there to get it? But yeah, at a certain point, it's like, well, okay, but I spent $1.
Dude, if I'm gonna get something for the library, I'm gonna wake up early. I'll just walk if it's within walking distance.
Yeah.
That way, it's all free.
You just fill up a grocery sack full of DVDs.
Look,
and
big
come on
companies spend time and effort, and the only reason the big guy doesn't spend as much effort as you do is because he has people below him working for him. You should spend as much effort and time to do something for free if it's legal. And if somebody looks at you and says, I don't have the time for that, I'll just buy it, then they're literally burning money. And it's half the reason why big rich people who invest and actually spend the time, because I can actually get behind that, but it's half the time big rich people call us fools is because we will sit there and light our money on fire. And it looks like they're doing it from our perspective because they have so much of it. But the big part about it is if we can do what they can do and spend as much time trying to find ways around them, it would be a whole different story. But nobody wants to do that anymore. So, but yeah, if I lived close to a library, man, I'd be a library person. I'd just walk. I'd walk and get it for free. So.
Yep. My little story there. I saw TMNT 2 Secret of the Ooze on VHS for 99 cents at a thrift store. And I was like, I'm only going to watch this once. I know it sucks, but it's like, it's either that or I spend $2.99 at Family Video to rent it for 3 nights. So it's like, I'll just own it for 99 cents. Sure. Why not?
Secret of the Ooze isn't bad, I think. I think it's the third one that's really bad.
Yeah, it's compared
They even
to
used
later
a different company for the costumes and stuff.
It's not as bad as people say, but yeah,
It's not great.
First one.
It's not great.
First one. Yeah. But yeah, I was curious. I wanted to see it. I mean, if you want to go ninja, go ninja, go ninja, go ninja. That's what you got to do. Go. Yep. Yeah. I think it's I love being a turtle. Yeah. Well, it's the gotta have it attitude. Like, if you're the type of person who's like, okay, I have to see every movie, I have to consume every product. There's different ways to do that. If you
Sounds like
really
shit.
want to.
It sounds bad. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, it does sound bad, but it's like people out there where they'll only care about a movie when it first comes out, like opening weekend. If you don't see it opening weekend, forget it. Like, they'll never watch a TV show like after it first airs. Like, it's always got to be new. It's always got to be first. It's always got to be like, I don't know, like, why are you doing it? Are you doing it for social clout? Like, I sort of get that, because at my work there would always be people that they would always be talking about the premiere of some show that just happened. Everybody would anticipate it, then it happens, but then after that they would never talk about it again. It's like, okay, so you just did it. You didn't do it for the media. You did it as something to talk about with your coworkers. Like, okay. And I guess that's the same mentality where it's like, well, I can't afford these games, so I'll pirate them. Or, I don't know, I can't own this stuff, so I'll stream it. Like, you're just trying to, like, consume it. And I would just be more like, I'll let the dust settle. I'll decide if it's worth my time and my money. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The later CGI Turtles movies were pretty horrible. I mean, the TMNT
my kids like them.
Yeah.
A lot.
I mean, you think about it. Okay, most people were first exposed to the Ninja Turtles as a cartoon. So the closer you get to that format, the kind of more natural it feels for a lot of people. Yeah, the puppetry was weird, and those costumes were weird, but the movie was kind of entertaining. It was kind of fun, even though the story was different. Yeah, it's like every adaptation has been different than the original comics. It's always been like a compromise between these different like desires to be really edgy and gritty and wanting to be like kid friendly and kind of like comedic. Yeah, Michael Bay. Nope.
I have
Joe
not
Coach says,
seen. I've not seen a lot of the Turtles movies except for I think 1 and 2, and then part of 3. So
you're not missing much. Yeah. Although the CGI movie that was made in the 2000s called TMNT is kind of interesting.
What, 2007? Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, I kind of got tired of that animation style. It's like The Incredibles, like that style. But back then it was still pretty fresh, so it was like, okay, it's kind of cool. Joe Kocher says, that is the biggest thing I miss about having a bunch of coworkers. I work with my wife, and we watch the same things for the most part. The cowabunga stuff got annoying fast. Well, yeah, but it's like, I see it as, it's similar to how I see the Transformers. Like, the Transformers are supposed to be these ancient aliens, right? But they act like they're little boys, like playing on the playground, and fighting bullies and stuff. Like, that's what they act, their mentality is like. And so they're relatable to a certain audience. And the Ninja Turtles are supposed to be teenagers. Like, they don't know themselves. They're trying to be cool. They're trying to have fun. They're kind of risk takers. They're kind of naive. So it has a different appeal. If you could put yourself into that mindset, if that's what the characters are, you can accept a lot more of what you see, rather than just being like, why aren't they cool? Why aren't they like, uh-oh, are we in followers only mode?
No, sorry, I was looking at because they updated stuff for moderators. That was my bad. I turned it off. I mean, most of the people I think in here right now are followers, so I don't think it applies. But.
Our rant bus army of podcast. Like, what should we call you?
I think. Well, I linked my Discord to my channel to the RantCastPodcast, so I mean it's 2 for 1. I'm trying to see where the raid thing is, so when we do end the stream, we can raid. Or I guess you could just come back to my stream, because I think I'm going to be finishing Dishonored tonight before I go to bed.
Yeah, we would be dishonored if you would join us.
It's funny because I just saw that movie.
Man, yeah, Empire Strikes Back. Still a chance
to save Han at the east platform.
Oh man.
No disintegrations.
Such a classic film.
I tried to point out the differences that I could remember, like Boba Fett being voiced by what's his face?
Mark Morrison.
Yeah.
The Jason Wintergreen.
Which is kind of sad.
I get him mixed up, like which actor is the one who played him in the suit versus the voice of the original. But yeah, I like the original voice better.
I don't mind. It's just the actor did paid his dues. And
he did.
It's set that,
Yeah.
Am I not allowed to raid? Can I not raid as a moderator?
Some of these guys you can't raid.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, I need to. Joe is doing all kinds of 3D printing, so check out his stuff. He says I need to hit up my library and see what makerspace options they have. That's something I totally forgot about.
Can you
You can
3D
go to your
print
public
me
library.
some Star Wars X-wing miniatures? Like
Joe.
the Moldy Crow and the Outrider, because they're like $60 or more now.
Dang.
And
I'm glad I
don't
bought the Moldy Crow.
really
when I
want to
could've.
buy them.
Bohemius 3D printed me a Moldy Crow.
And I would really like them to put up on my shelf. I will do almost anything.
You'll have to paint it,
Almost.
but
I can paint it. That'll be fine.
yeah. Yeah. We should have a painting party. That's another thing we should do.
A what?
A painting party. You know, you get your minis out.
I feel like I'm going to pass out in that. Don't do it in a closed room.
It's just acrylic. It's not. I mean, unless you're using an airbrush,
Woo!
you can inhale it. That's some good stuff right there. Well, I guess there's the paint thinner. I mean, if you're sniffing that, huffing that stuff, you're gonna bust a brain cell or two. Joe says I used to check out music CDs, but I don't have a CD player in my truck.
Aw.
Yeah, I still got a CD player.
Joe, if you print me the Outrider and a couple other ships like the Moldy Crow, and then like stuff to help me with my X-Wing stuff, if you need any computer stuff done, I'll be your guy. I don't know what I'd do to repay you, but I'd be in your debt. It'd be awesome. And you need your special talons. Your talons.
The Raven's talon. Got like huge talons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nothing like being a 10-year-old in the 70s being turned loose with model cement and paint thinner. Yeah. Dang. Yep. You're 11 years older than me.
Dang.
Yep. Still a youngin' compared to some of these guys out there, but you know. Shoot me a DM and I'll see what I can do, SB. Oh, hey, we got a deal. A bargain has been struck.
Send you a message? Okay.
Yep. Slide into his DMs.
Alright, I will.
What you think you need?
I'd appreciate it, man. It'd be awesome.
Oh, on Discord, yeah. So hit him up on Discord, he says. Yeah, man. I used to have a lot more negative view of 3D printing, but it's really come a long way. Like, it's to the point where, yeah, you got a friend who will do it for you, and you can throw some paint on that, and it looks great. And it won't just immediately break in your hand.
I've got... Oh, I don't have much anymore. I was about to say, I have things I could probably... But all my good, like, game libraries are gone. With all the other stuff I want to keep.
Sacrifice for the cause.
Yep.
Give him some Romulan ale.
I've got Japanese whiskey. Although I don't know how I'd transport that. Because it's open. I guess I could order you some.
Oh yeah, Joe, I totally forgot about that. Oh man, thank you. Yeah, he's printing some like storage containers for me.
Oh wait.
Like,
Speaking of Star Trek and stuff, and alcohol. Hold on.
Spock here. Give it to Kurgan. Give it to me at Gen Con. Oh man.
Can I interest you in some special reserve?
Special reserve. Can you hold that label up a little closer? I can't quite see what it is. Ooh.
Or
Romulan ale should be illegal. It is.
Maybe some Chateau Picard.
Oh, yes. There we go.
Or, if you're craving something more spicy,
Non-sponsored, of course.
some blood wine.
Oh, yes. Klingon bloodline. That next to the prune juice.
Although, if you want that, I would not drink it, because what I did was I drank the blood wine and then replaced it with 19 Crimes, and it's been in there for years. Well, a couple of years. So 10 to 1, that wine's probably not good.
Okay. You can thin your paints with it, though.
Probably. That was before I realized that even though you put the cork back on and you pressurize it, it still doesn't seal. So
Oh, not perfect.
I'm gonna have to empty that bottle out.
Dang. But
My
that'll go
uncle does.
before the Crystal Pepsi.
Yeah, probably. Or my bottle, or my can of Shirley Temple 7-Up.
Oh, you got the Shirley Temple.
Yeah, I kept
7-Up?
one. So it's a full can. I wonder what it'll do once it gets super old.
We tried some of that, and people were not impressed.
Oh, I loved
it's
it,
still.
man. Oh,
I mean, taking that sugary grenadine and mixing it in with the 7-Up. I'm more of an Arnold Palmer kind of guy, but
I also like Arnold Palmer's. I'm an anything
sister-in-law-
but Coca-Cola guy.
my sister-in-law likes the Shirley Temples. I'd never heard of them before. She
Really?
joined her family. It was just like,
Oh.
Yep.
My favorite kids drink.
Yeah. Yep. Gives you something to order that's not on the adult menu.
Ooh, all right. Excuse me.
Good stuff.
So I don't have anything else, but I think we did pretty good. 3 hours is not bad.
Yeah. Not bad at all.
I've tried old fashioned twice, and it's horrid stuff. Shame on you, Joe.
Oh, see, I've never had that, but my parents like those old fashions.
Fact. I have just a swig left.
He's gonna do it on the stream. Oh, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it,
Cheers.
guys.
Cheers to you.
All right.
That's really good. Although
Bartender, right?
this is like the
Maybe.
cheaper stuff, so it's like this pre-made stuff you can find at the gas station. I bought it so I could like casually drink every now and then, and it's not as good. It's like nitroglycerin.
Yeah.
You get one properly mixed with like a cherry or a Manhattan,
Yeah.
and those are good.
Yeah, I have not had very many different kinds of drinks, but the ones I've had were properly done, and it's like I could appreciate what it was. But yeah, not much of a drinker here, critical or otherwise. It was just bitter and super strong. Well, some people like that. I don't know. Are you supposed to like have food with it? Like I know some drinks like you're supposed to have it.
With an old
Meal.
fashioned.
Yeah, or is that just a drink that you just have by itself?
I've had it by itself. Usually I put a cherry in it, so. But
Oh, maybe that just to offset the bitterness if it's really
well,
strong.
it also depends on like how well you mix
you
it
mix
too. So it's
Yeah.
like I used to ask for gin and tonics back when I was younger because I liked those, and like people would mix those awful, like they wouldn't do a good job at all.
Mm.
It'd be like 60% gin, 40% tonic, and like you need to have a good ratio, so it just tastes like I'm drinking rubbing alcohol.
Yeah, the stuff that you mix in is supposed to cut it to
Yeah.
So it doesn't overwhelm you.
And
Kind of like, well,
the
I guess.
flavor is nice. If you get good gin like that, I have Japanese gin over there, and it's mixed with berries, so it's still gin. Still tastes bad if you drink it alone. Well, I don't like it alone, but if you mix it with stuff, it enhances that berry. The right stuff enhances the berry flavor.
It was Christmas themed with chocolate and a toasted marshmallow, and it was on fire.
What the fuck? Really?
Wait, what? What was it called?
The old fashioned?
Or the Manhattan? What is he talking about?
I don't know. Trying to read. Yeah. Your old fashioned was Christmas themed with chocolate and toasted marshmallow. They put chocolate and toasted marshmallows in that?
Oh.
Dude, no wonder you didn't like it.
Well, that's a variant. That's not the regular
They
old
like.
fashioned.
They,
They threw the kitchen sink in there.
oh yeah.
Maybe they went too far.
When they call your Starbucks coffees, they say you they gussy them up, or they it's a frou-frou coffee. They frou-frued your old fashioned, man.
Yeah, should have gotten a refund. Well, the only mixed drink I've ever created, well, I guess I've other people have made stuff for me, but the eggnog. So you make the eggnog and you put rum in it, like Bacardi rum, but it's the smallest amount. It's like not much, because if you put too much in it, then it just tastes like you're just drinking rum. Like you can't even taste the other stuff. So yeah, the proportions have to be right.
Well, I'd say that wraps up a nice episode 94 of the
Last call.
RantCastPodcast.
94.
I'm not done yet. I'm gonna be rocking out for a little bit tonight.
He's gonna be partying into the night.
That's correct.
Yep.
I will play us out though. So, with that said though, let me go ahead and pull this up. Oh, that's loud. That being said, this has been the RantCast Podcast. I am Josh, also known as TheStrangeBus, and you can find me right after this at twitch.tv/TheStrangeBus. And this has also been Kurgan, also known as HeroQuest Fans, and you can find him on Fridays and Saturdays. That's correct, right?
Yeah, most Fridays and Saturdays.
At twitch.tv/HeroQuestFans. That's twitch.tv/HeroQuestFans. Also find the archives at XSC3, home of HeroQuest Fans. You can catch the replays or anything you might have missed. We also have an archive on YouTube as well, and that's the RantCast Podcast Archive, as well as we are on Spotify and might be branching out as well to other platforms. So keep an eye out for that. We also have merch, and I keep forgetting to wear it. So if you would like a t-shirt, you can contact Kurgan. He might be able to hook you up with one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. I sent out a whole bunch of t-shirts earlier. Towards the end of last year, on August, September, October. I'm way behind on that, but yeah, if people are interested in merch, t-shirts, you want RantCast, you want HeroQuest Fans, hit me up. If times are tight, I might ask you for the shipping, but for the most part, I've just given them away. I mean, I appreciate the goodwill. Spread the word.
We're not revenue generating, but we might try to make a profit on these if they're well done.
Oh yeah, now we're talking. Yep.
Joe, stick around. I might DM you.
Yep.
So
I need a RantCast shirt.
I've also got plenty of extras because I have more than you sent me like 5. So I might send an extra.
I felt like that. Yeah, I felt like the logo wasn't centered properly, so I was like, I'll send you another one. I think I sent you the wrong size. So I was like, okay, here you go.
What size do you wear, Joe? If you DM me your size, I might send you an extra. Because I have enough for my kids and me to wear.
Nice. Yeah, I kind of treated you.
You did.
Yep. And you're free to spread the love. Yep.
Large, extra large. It might be the size that I might be low on, actually. Let's see, what size is this? These are heavy cotton too. You went all out.
Yeah, man.
Well, I'm gonna
Nothing
be
but the
DMing
best.
you. I'll check, and then I'll hit you up again. But anyway, we'll go ahead and if you want to raid my channel, I guess. But
Yeah.
if you want to stick around, I'll be finishing a nice game called Dishonored. It came out in 2012. It's really wonderful. And then I might be doing some other games. Also, Dungeonborn, I believe, is closing its servers in January. So that game that we enjoyed so much, it's coming to a close. Dark and Darker is still up, so we might want to do something here soon. So I might be doing kind of like a celebration of Dungeonborn.
Wait. So Dungeonborn, like you won't be able to play it anymore, or just won't be able to do multiplayer?
They're both live service.
Oh, dude, so it's completely gone after that.
Same with, oh, and I forgot to mention this too on
That sucks.
the Rantcast. Speaking of live service games dying, New World is also going away too. I think it's next year. Dungeonborn is next month. New World is next year. The Amazon game, live service game. So
Yeah.
a lot of games going away, getting called out. Live service is not a great idea. Anyway, that's it for our show. If you tuned in for us on Spotify, we appreciate you. That's really all we ask. We don't ask for a lot of donations. No real money. Just the fact that you're here, help support the channel. Tell people about us, the Rantcast Podcast. Bring in the community and join us on our Discord. And we'll see you guys next Tuesday at twitch.tv/TheRantCastPodcast. Have a great night and or morning, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for following. Cast. Rantcast.